All I ask, Brooke, is that you show a little bit of appreciation. That I just get 20 minutes to relax when I come home instead of being attacked with questions and nag the whole damn time.
You think that I nag you?
That's all you do!
Oh, Mr. McFeely left so fast. As soon as we started talking about divorce, I guess that's something he doesn't like to talk about.
First off, I am 35 years old. I am divorced, and I live in a van down by the river.
Welcome to Last Man on Earth. My name is Lex Jurgen. As always, I'm flanked by Matt Ralston. Matt took the month of August off to mourn the loss of his good friend Jeffrey Epstein. Or as Matt called him, what I would have been if I were rich and preferred girls. So we're going to talk about Epstein a little bit, but I'm sure you were shocked by his third attempt. I know you have some conspiracy theories around his death, of course.
Oh, as if that's like, implausible.
You
would think even like a housewife who doesn't believe in conspiracies would be like, that seems a bit strange.
I think housewives are the basis of all conspiracies, but I agree with what you're saying. Even I do not. The reason I never believe in conspiracies is because the people the conspiracy theorists presume are pulling off the conspiracies are always like idiots. Yeah. They always assume like 5 idiots got together and came up with an amazing plan. Like,
this wouldn't involve a ton of people. It's like a jail. So it's like basically the warden from, the Shawshank. So it's like, all right, turn the cameras off, kill the guy. Like, it's not.
Do you think he was actually killed? I think
see,
my level of conspiracy is that he paid somebody off so that he could kill himself. I think he did kill himself. I just think
that seems like more of a conspiracy than my actual conspiracy.
Really? Well, he tried to kill.
He paid someone so they would look away while he killed himself.
Well, they provide him with the means to kill himself.
You're sounding like a Trumper right now.
Well, he did. Like, he didn't want to go. Like, so apparently, among arrested pedophiles, as you might imagine, the suicide rates are really high because they're facing a horrible future existence, not only in prison but being ass raped by everybody else in prison and beaten up by people who hate pedophiles. And also, I assume
I would think if I was a megalomaniac pedophile, I'd just be like, well, I'm busting out.
I guess. Like Jared from Subway.
I got 2 passports. I don't get why people don't flee anyway. He had a private jet or access to one.
I guess. I don't know where you could go.
If I got charged with a DUI, I would go to fucking Colombia. I swear to God.
The guy I was thought was going to do that was Cosby. And Cosby had like $250 million. He has a private plane. Why did he not leave the country? Like, he had like 5 years to plan his departure.
I don't get it.
And he was like living in his home in Connecticut, knew what was coming down the pipeline. If nothing else, just leave the country like Polanski and negotiate from some.
Yeah, Polanski got it right, although he's whining like a bitch. But I mean,
but he's lived the last 50 years free in Switzerland and France and other places.
Well, would you rather live? Well, this is all right. This is an honest question.
He's still fucking young girls.
Would you rather have to? Is he?
Yeah. Well, not like 14 any longer, but he always has like a 25-year-old girlfriend.
Legal.
Now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's like 95.
Yeah.
Would you rather have to live in France the rest of your life or spend 1 year in jail? Because I know for me, it's actually I'm not sure.
And to never come back to the U.S. You mean? I think I could live without the U.S. I think and Britain or some other countries would take me back.
But he can't really go. He pretty much has to stay in France, I believe.
He lived in Swiss. I don't know. Last I saw, he was living in a Swiss chalet with his 5th young wife or whatever. He seemed to be doing okay, and he was winning awards at Cannes. He seems to be doing.
Rosemary's Baby is a great movie.
He's also not American, obviously, so it wasn't like he was.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
It wasn't like he was. Yeah. Rosemary. He was a great director.
He's fucking Polish. I don't know what goes on there.
Poland, but I think he lived in France, and then I don't know. I only saw him for 5 minutes in the what's his name's movie, Tarantino movie. He was like the fop in the little car with the blouse, wearing the blouses or whatever. He was driving Sharon Tate around in the movie.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Once upon a time in Hollywood.
Right. His likeness.
I don't think he even spoke in the movie. I don't think he even spoke.
That was lost on me until you just said that.
Yes. So, this week's show is sponsored by meteorologist akin.
Which means that movie might not should have been made because I know a lot about L.A. history, and as you, we're actually in that neighborhood, and the fact that reference was like Tarantino trying to be so fucking covert and clever I didn't get it. That's anyway, sorry.
He had a lot of little old. Tarantino's not from L.A. obviously, but he had all these old Hollywood references.
No, he is from L.A.
He is originally. Mm-hmm. I thought he was from back east for some reason.
He's from Hawthorne.
Oh, is he really? Oh, I take it back then. So he probably does know. He's not that old, but then he would have remembered the 60s. But I guess he grew up in that sort of shortly thereafter. This week's show is sponsored by meteorologists acting breathlessly panicked by hurricanes likely to hit Florida. The mark of any great researcher is somebody panicked by routinely repeated events for which they know more about than the general public. Whether you're simply not a real science. I don't understand how, like, first of all, a hurricane hitting Florida is not news, right? It happens every single year. And not devastating ones, but every 5 years a devastating one comes. So it's happened 50 times since Florida's been around.
Yeah.
And I don't like that the meteorologists who know more than anybody else act the most panicked. And they're doing it for ratings, obviously, to get gin up interest in the actual storm. But shouldn't like the scientists who know, like, should they be a little colder about it? Should they be a little more less breathless on the air about how everyone's going to die than anybody else? Like, isn't the role of a scientist to actually be a little, like, when you see the earthquake scientists?
Maybe because they do know more, they're more concerned, because it turns out this does happen every year or 2 or 3. And, like, I don't know.
And nobody moves.
100 people die.
And nobody moves.
Like, maybe they just care more.
I don't know. I feel like they're like when I compare them to the earthquake scientists. When you see the earthquake scientists in California, they're completely, like, apathetic, like, cold, aspy people. Like, 6.2 hit, and there's a ripple effect, and whatever. They never get, like, nothing flusters them, right? Not flustered ever. And then the weather people in, like, the East Coast and the hurricane alleys, and I think even tornado people, I feel like, are very, very grounded. But the hurricane people, for some reason, there's something about hurricane that causes people to just act like it's like a movie event is about to take place. Like there's some level of devastation unlike anything else because there's water involved or because it's like...
This is interesting. I would have never thought about it if I didn't come over here for the free cookies. But yeah, you're right. Tornado, very stoic.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to the...
Siren. There's like a siren. Everyone gets in the basement.
And tornadoes take out way more people than hurricanes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure they do. And they don't know about them like 5 days ahead of time or 2 weeks ahead of time.
I think it's just the plains. You've been to the Midwest,
Mm-hmm.
right? I love it. It's this plains mentality of, they don't have much to talk about. They're very polite. Like if they get an omelet, like their day is fucking solid. And they don't get, but then you get into Florida, and I mean we could do an hour on how fucked up Florida is, but it's some combination of weird white trash, meth, and guys fleeing child support, and weird Cubans that have like fucking traversed
old Jews from New York,
old Jews, and it's just like everyone sucks, but they're loud. You've been to Miami. Can we say it's loud?
The state of Florida southern Florida is loud. There's a weird panhandle, like sort of like televangelist area too, where they have like this.
Still loud, by the way.
It is loud. The most conservative people in the entire country live in the panhandle, and there's the central Florida people who are just like the whitest trash like we have in the entire country. Like the most like rednecky, trailer parky, incest people are in Florida. People don't realize that. They always think it's like Arkansas or like Missouri. It's actually Central Florida that is like the most redneck place in the entire country.
You got to have given up on life because if you look at the shape of Florida,
yeah,
it's essentially like a 9-inch dick, right? And so
I don't think of it like that, but I understand why you do.
That's how I quantify things.
Yes.
And if so we live in. I live in West Hollywood. You live in, sort of
the hills.
The hills. We're both about 10 miles from the beach.
Yeah,
and I like to go and I enjoy it. These fucking idiots.
Yeah,
that live in the swamplands.
Yeah, below the sea level.
What are you doing?
I don't understand.
Why would you bring that humidity onto yourself and not have access to the fucking ocean? Like what?
I don't understand.
They're fucking losers, bro.
I feel the same way about New Orleans. Anyone who lives in New Orleans.
Me too.
It's like, why are you like? They're like, I'm 40 feet below sea level. Like, oh, that's wonderful.
Like, oh shit, man.
Like, why would you?
We got flooded. Yeah, I would think so. We're not the Dutch. Granted, there is a lot of injustice, but I would just say, as a homeowner, as an investor,
yeah,
would it be a good idea to buy a house right on the ocean?
No,
that's below sea level. Like you could sort of understand just intrinsically how that might
I have a friend who lives in that
problem.
Galveston to Houston area in Texas, and they flood every 3 years. There's a major flood. They have to put sandbags out. They have to fix the water damage to their home, and these are nice places. Like, why? Like, why is it so nice? It's 98 degrees and humid there. Like, what is so? Unless you're in the oil business and you have to be there, why would you be there? Like, why would you not just move to a state with less humidity?
Do you know how stressed out I am about not even having to deal with all this shit? I don't understand people's lives.
I don't get why you won't just move to if you don't mind the heat, go to Arizona where it's dry heat and nothing bad, bad weather happens.
I almost died on the way over here.
Did you?
What is it, 90 right now?
Oh, it's hot in the valley.
It's fucking hot, but I'm saying I had the AC on full.
Dry heat though, but you got to admit there's nothing worse than humidity. Humidity is the fucking worst. Like if you can be like, if it's when it's 100 degrees here, but it's dry, it's kind of like, okay, it's warm, but it's like inconvenient warm. When I lived like in the D.C. area or lived in the Georgia area, it was like humid like in the summer.
Ugh.
It was just like you wanted to kill yourself. It was just like you just fucking had to take 5 showers a day. You felt like tired all the time because you were like, literally like, it was like you had just run a marathon every day just existing.
You can't go down. You pull a chick's pants down. I feel like you're...
It's too humid, too musky for you.
Yeah, your boner is just like, I don't know, man.
I know they're still reproducing down there in Florida. I guess you get over that. And I guess the people who have money have air conditioning. But it's like that central. Yeah, honestly, I like when the worst part is we rebuild. We have the same shit here in California, in Malibu, after the fires. The government comes in and pays all the millionaires to rebuild their homes, like in the fire areas, or like on the stilts across the eroding beach, because they have to get their shit back. But at some point, we need to make an announcement like, the federal government, state government, will, you have 10 years to move somewhere where you're not going to be devastated. We're giving you 10 years. And after 10 years, we're no longer paying you back because you built a house in a stupid fucking area. And we're going to list those areas that are stupid fucking areas. And if you still want to live there, you're on your own.
Yeah, I can't even imagine because
they're all wealthy. Usually wealthier people live by the water. So it's not usually like the poor people live in the swampland, like you said, but along the coast or up in the hills, like in the fires, it's usually wealthier people.
But it's still hot. Like, bro, I have central air, and I was looking. So I saw the temperature on my thermostat.
Yeah,
and it said like 62.
Yeah,
so I was like, okay, I think I'm good.
Yeah,
but I was looking out the window, and a bead of sweat just rolled down my forehead,
just
based on the thought of having to walk outside.
You don't have the central office controlled thermostat from like the power company where they pay you extra to be on that thing.
I am worried about that because the government, whatever it is, the Department of Energy, they said when you go to bed, set your AC to 82 or your central air to 82 degrees. And I was like, oh, what? So I can murder everyone in my family? Like,
I don't understand. What is the point of having an advanced power grid and having power if you can't be comfortable with it? I don't. Just get rid of it. Just get rid of it.
A bunch of fucking.
Have you seen? By the way, have you seen Chernobyl, the miniseries?
No, because I have a problem with something that transpired in whatever it was, Russia or somewhere, and they're speaking English.
I see. Yes, they're all well, yes, it was pretty much all British actors. Although just so the fucking, I
heard it's very good, but I couldn't do it.
It is a very realistic, I assume, realistic portrayal of what happens to people at a nuclear site when it starts melting down to their bodies and their skin and everything else, which is kind of cool.
Well, if right now you were like, dude, you're going to die of radiation in a year because I just had this thing in my room and I opened it accidentally and Schrodinger's cat, I'd just be like, yeah, all right, well.
Yeah, these guys are like, just the level of duncery of the people who are working there, just the bureaucracy of how they allowed basically a neutron bomb times 100 to go off, just complete worker error.
Well,
complete worker error.
Everyone talks about we should be more like the Japanese. It's like, oh, the people that built a fucking reactor next to the ocean,
next to the tuna, man, they ruined the tuna,
which happens to I would assume, I'm not a geologist or an oceanographer.
Yeah,
that was not uncommon.
No,
so I don't want to really be like those people. Although I do like ramen. Well,
it did. I say this for nuclear power. It is technically cleaner. It doesn't emit. It just emits steam. However, if things go wrong, like at Chernobyl, you can destroy the world. Literally, the world can be destroyed by the reactor.
Yeah, they want to tell you it's cleaner, but I have my thought. I mean, obviously, coal is not the answer. Let's get on with this.
Do not forget to be on Patreon of the show on patreon.com/Last Man on Earth. Thanks to all our new patrons. Get on this shit now before it disappears. If you should contact the show, hit us up on Twitter at Last Man Podcast or on Facebook, also Last Man Podcast. All right, on to the show. Matt, I know you have all your Jeffrey Epstein conspiracy theories. I don't know, like, here's the weirdest thing, like, when Jeffrey...
Is it a conspiracy theory, or is it...
Well,
what do you think sounds weirder? The conspiracy theory or the sort of reported fact?
I hate conspiracy theories, even though I kind of believe it, just for the very fact of having people discuss, like, hearing amateurs, like, wherever you're at the grocery store, talking about, like, what kind of bones are in the neck and how different bones in the neck break. Like, they're experts because they've seen, like, a cable news.
You're leading a horrifying life. Wait, can you elaborate on this?
Well, so he broke, about? So his...
I thought you were talking about, like, chicken.
No, Epstein broke his, like, hyoid neck bone or whatever it is, right, which typically doesn't break in a hanging. It breaks in a strangulation. And so the whole conspiracy idea, I'll say conspiracy since the coroner said there was no conspiracy, since they said it was suicide, was that the force it required to break that bone is much more common with strangulation than with hanging. So people who would know nothing about human anatomy, women who've never taken a hard science class in their life, are now discussing neck bones, how they're supposed to break, the character of them, different motives of death.
Right, no one knows what they're talking about.
No, absolutely not.
Those people couldn't do 10 push-ups.
It's just
they're now experts on anatomy. I guess.
But so let's move beyond the Jeffrey Epstein, how he died stuff. Although I will say, he was the first, like, child molester that people got upset when he died. like it was kind of a weird thing because, like, normally when a child molester dies, everyone's like, good, I'm glad he's dead. Like, I'm glad he was killed and whatever. But he was the first, like, child molester to die.
Well, let me make sure that I will never be hired again in Hollywood.
Yes.
There is a difference between a guy that fucks 15-year-old chicks and a guy that fucks 3-year-old
Yeah, for sure. He was into, like, 16-year-old girls.
Is
CBS
there a
range.
more flattering word for that?
I don't know what they call it. Peter Ast is a man. I mean, let's say a statutory rapist. He was a statutory rapist.
He's the guy that watches the Barely Legal series.
And also, I think if you're 20...
Which is quite popular.
Yeah, say you're 23 and you're like 16-year-old girls. It's a little different than when you're 63 and you like 16-year-old girls. There's probably conceivably a bit of a perversion difference there.
I don't trust anyone that has lines on their face that are that deep. It's like you've been...
He got a nice tan, I'd
agonizing.
say, before he was arrested. And he clearly got a great deal in 2008 when he was arrested. He clearly got off on... Somebody got in there, whether for money or political reasons, and got him that house arrest and a mild...
Well, you could see how the conspiracy theories might sound somewhat plausible, though, at that point. I mean, he's a pretty powerful guy.
Well, any billionaire is going to have a great... Any connected billionaire, whatever he was worth, is going to have a great advantage in the legal system, right? In the justice system.
Look, I would have hung out with him. But if he was like, hey, do you want to fuck this chick? I'd be like, how old is she?
You've been like Clinton until the point that, like, the underage girl showed up. Like, listen, I'll hang with you, dude, but 18 to 21.
Absolutely.
Yes.
100%. But if I saw something weird, if I saw some dark shit and, like, I saw a girl getting dragged out in a duffel bag, I'd be like, no.
I don't think he killed anybody.
I'm calling.
He was a.
I'm not saying kill, but the trafficking thing.
Yeah.
If I like fucked a 19-year-old.
Trafficking is a new.
And then I went down to his solarium and was just, drinking a Coors Light, and this girl was like, get me out of here.
He had a lot of pictures. I don't know if you saw the interior of his house. They showed the police top files, whatever. But he had a lot of portraits of, like, younger teenage girls on the wall. So that would be like, and if you're hanging that on the wall, if you got like 50 shots of like 15-year-old girls on your wall, that's a bit.
It's weird,
yes.
But dude, think about if you were an eccentric female billionaire, let's just say a Mexican, fiery Latina, and she just had a bunch of portraits of nubile guys. It'd be like, that's she's kooky.
It's a little weird, and I would say this: the trafficking charge is a very modern term that everyone's using. I don't know what trafficking. I mean, what's his name? The owner of the Patriots. They try to say did sex trafficking by getting a hand job at the Kraft.
Sorry,
he was sex trafficking because he went to a massage parlor and got a hand job.
Like bullshit.
I'm like, what do you mean? Unless you're putting Thai girls into a cargo container, you're not sex trafficking.
I still maintain unless you have a trafficking fetish. Like if you show up with handcuffs and like a bogus passport.
Well, if you're
not trafficking.
If you're abducting or buying women in Southeast Asia,
yes.
But I mean, what Epstein was doing was paying young women essentially to have sex with him and I guess some of his friends. So gross and obviously illegal.
I don't get.
Is it trafficking if you're like telling a girl to give her $2,000, a teenage girl to come to your place and party with your friends, and she does it. It's illegal, obviously, but is that trafficking, or is that just like fucking prostitution?
I don't know. I think it's a great because it's also Florida. I bet you there's a reason he lived in Florida and not San Francisco.
Well, the age of consent,
the education system.
well, the age of consent in Florida is only 16, I believe. So I think he was legally okay with a lot of these girls. But then the younger, I don't know, he took him off to this little rape island he had.
See,
once you get an island for sex, and it's like you got to go.
You know
down.
what I don't get about guys like that? And like, look, I'm 37. I when I was 25, I preferred 19, 18, 20, 21.
College age girls.
Now that I'm getting older,
14, 15?
no, like 25.
Okay.
But what is that pathology in that Nickelodeon runs a very successful enterprise?
Yes.
They find people that are 18 that look like they're 12. That's every fucking show on.
Right, because they want to
so
work.
Why didn't he just open a casting office? Is it like...
Oh, I see. That he really
I
authentically
dig the illegal aspect of it.
I think he just liked a I don't know. I don't understand it, but I think he liked a certain type of age girl, like a complete naive young girl. And
why didn't he fucking move to North Hollywood?
I assume, by the way, he also had sex with like 18, 19, 20-year-old girls as well.
I don't know.
So I don't know that he was like how like he was. I don't know how his fetish was so strong they had to like check IDs to make sure their age was like in his range or something.
If I had to strangle myself right now,
yeah,
which I'm not going to do.
No, you'll break your hanoid bone.
And I wouldn't even be allowed this cord, the microphone cord that I'm that's connecting my voice to the mic. That would not be allowed if you're on suicide watch.
Well, he was taken off suicide watch, right? But he had a sheet. Somehow he had a sheet.
Why would you take someone off suicide watch that just tried to kill himself?
I don't know.
A week ago.
That's why I think he paid somebody. I want to talk about the enabling girls.
All right.
So my theory. So Epstein, now that the story's coming out, they're looking at like they can't charge him anymore, obviously, because he's dead. And then by the time that they charged him 10 years ago, they let him off. So now they're looking at all his co-conspirators, which are either going to be old guys who he was like cohorting with and hooking up with young girls, or this bevy of women he had working with him to bring him the girls. One was this Maxine, whatever her name is, like a 50-year-old woman who seemed to be one of these women who hang around older rich guys and get them what they want.
They're all pretty hot.
They're vaguely sort of
the
European.
Four conspirators, at least one of them looked pretty hot.
And then he was, what Epstein did was he went to, God bless him, he was a smart fucking serial predator, was he figured out the best way to get girls was like not, like you said, like I can't hang around a high school outside the fence and start like catcalling young girls. What he did was he found girls at these Florida high schools mostly, and he found the ones that were like, leaders of their social groups, and he offered to pay them a lot of money to hook him up with the girls at the school. So they were his like little pimpstresses.
I think you're absolutely correct. I'm just curious what you mean by a lot of money. I'm still was it like 200 G's or
no,
like
I don't think it was that
$50?
much. I think 200 G. He would have been smart enough not to pay them an obscene amount of money because that would have got noticed right away. So say he's paying them like, this is like 20 years, 15, 20 years ago. Let's say he's paying them like $200 to get their, for every girl they bring over to his house.
So it's like the creepy chick with the hoop earrings, the lip liner that's now just running shit out of Florida high school.
Yeah, but she's like 16 or 17, so she's like, I got this cool guy. I know he has parties at his house. Come over, and if you're nice to him, he'll pay you a lot of money. And
the leather face, I don't know.
Well, what I'm saying is that's
cool
what she's
guy. I mean, he probably rolled up in a obscene sports car.
He actually, so the ruse he used was he liked to get massages. So they would have the girls were offered to massage him, and then of course he would take it further and offer them cash to go further. So the ruse was you're going to go massage, you put a bikini on and go massage this older guy, and you're going to get paid a lot of money.
I'm noting all of this.
Yes, right. And then he would like, try to do more. If they resisted, he'd pay them more money. He'd offer them money. And these are not like rich girls. These were girls who probably needed money or wanted money. And they're all Florida high school teenagers, so I assume they're all future porn stars.
I think they knew the deal, man.
Of course they did, but they're still the reason it's still illegal, obviously, is because they can't make adult decisions.
Yeah, you shouldn't be doing that. Although not, Jesus Christ. Okay,
but isn't the case?
Isn't the line between 18 and 16 somewhat arbitrary? 14,
I'm not going to answer that question.
Not cool with that.
Well, again, I think 16. I think in Florida, 16 is actually legal. Although I think there's an age. There's one
rest
of those,
in peace.
There's one of those like Romeo and Juliet laws where like it's 16, but you can't be more than like 10 years older than the person if they're like 16.
I like that.
Yeah. So like if you're like college guy can date high school girl, but like 60-year-old like billionaire can't date 16-year-old girl openly. You have to build a sex island. You're doing something illegal.
See, they actually had to make that. It's not normally a concern in like Nebraska.
No.
Like they actually had to make that because it's like this is a real problem.
Yes, it is. Well, because you have all these rich old people down there, and then you have all these young, poor high school girls. But so here's the thing. My point is, I believe that around these sexual predators are 93% of the time they're male, whatever the stat is, 90%, 93%. Sexual predators are
99.
Yeah. Now, there's some women who do shit, but usually they're under the guise of a guy. But with these guys, they're always the serial ones, like the ones who do it for over the course of years with different girls. They're always or boys. There always seems to be a woman in the midst of this stuff, either a wife or an enabler or a girlfriend. He had this Maxine woman plus these young high school girls working for him, Epstein. You know, we talk about Sandusky's, Dottie Sandusky turning the fucking Victrola on extra loud while her husband's like doing tutorials with 11-year-old boys in the basement on how to grapple. Or any of these, the Invixum cult guy, whatever his name was, they're all going to jail now. He had Allison Mack from the Superman show, like hooking him up with young actresses to essentially starve and rape.
I would watch that biopic of Allison Mack.
Yes, but aren't there really? You can't exist as a serial predator outside of an institution like the Catholic Church, where you're, helped by the church. But you can't, as a rogue, a maverick serial predator, sex predator guy, exist without a woman really sort of enabling what you're doing as your cover, as your wife, your girlfriend, your whatever it is, your hookup person. There's always a woman there that is like either looking the other way, intentionally looking the other way, or actually helping you.
I think you're absolutely right because I didn't think about it. So most of the time, methamphetamines are involved. Let's just so is this 80, 70, 80%?
Well, in the trailer trash cases, there's always like a wife involved with
not even the trailer.
Really?
Dude. Just
the Epstein was doing meth.
Dude,
Yeah.
Fucking McAfee.
To the girls, probably.
You ever look into that guy's deal?
He's fucking. That's bizarre.
They're all. You get speeded up and you start doing this shit. And
well, after seeing that guy, reading about,
I prefer to take a nap.
I agree. I was reading,
and also fuck a like a nice 21-year-old.
But he was like Epstein wanted like girls, like lots of girls per week. He was into this fucking hardcore. He was addicted to this fetish of his.
I think
so. He needed to set up a system.
I don't want to repeat stories because I feel like we may have talked about it on the last podcast. But is it you that told me or someone else that you can't get into? Oh no, is this girl I've been fucking who has a kid? It's not it's a serious relationship. I should probably stop talking about it. Anyway. You can't go into Chuck E. Cheese as a single guy.
I told you that, yes.
You told me.
Yeah, that. you have to. They will not let single men in Chuck E. Cheese anymore.
That's a good rule.
It is a great rule. And then when you walk in with the kid, they put matching wristbands on you and the kid, so your kid cannot be walked out by anybody else, like a serial number wristband, so that no other adult can walk your child out with the thing. They check you in and they check you out.
I used to walk around a sort of barren town, just fully solo. Probably
Really?
my butt hanging out.
Yeah, no, you can't. I mean, let's face it. It's most of the time. I think male predators are the guys you think are the male predators. There's occasionally like a sociopathic guy who's like so under deep cover you never know it. But usually it's the guys you suspect.
I would figure that guy out within 10 seconds.
Well, first of all, almost if it's young children, almost always they have a job that involves being around young children. They worm their way into some position where they're around kids. But like with a guy like Epstein who's going after like 16-year-old girls, it's a little different because he can just party in Miami and there's going to be young girls there.
I mean, speaking of pedophile rings, not even conspiratorially, but the whole Catholic Church. You know, Ratzinger, whatever his fucking dumb stage name was, he's not allowed to leave the Vatican.
Really?
Yes.
Because of what?
Because he would be arrested by Interpol.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Immediately.
Yes.
Because he's involved in sex trafficking.
That's what I'm saying. So
literally.
If you like young boys or I guess girls in a different position, you get into coaching or teaching or Catholic Church, priesting, or whatever you do, you get into a profession where you're around your job involves being around kids because that way you have access to kids. Because it's hard for a single guy. It's hard for a guy in advertising who's single to be around like 6-year-old kids that aren't his own. There's just no situation where
you got to go Little League.
You got to go Little League, and even by the way, Little League stopped letting other adults coach. So you have to be a parent, and you have to get a full background check.
What the fuck? By the way, I was thinking about this in my darkest hours. So the Cub Scouts, we didn't really have that in Alaska, but I guess it existed. It was not popular. So you had the Cub Scouts, and it was like fucking dork nerds, faggots. And then you had the Tiger.
They had the Tiger Scouts.
So you're still doing this shit? You're fucking dumber than I
you mean
thought.
when they're like 15 and 16?
I don't even know.
The Eagle Scouts?
Now I'm... What the fuck is an Eagle Scout?
I don't know.
A pedophile? Why don't you just call it the fucking pedophile badge?
Anytime guys are wearing uniforms, like the adults would wear their same uniform.
Embarrassing.
Yeah, super embarrassing.
Hugely embarrassing.
Something wrong with
always
that.
the mustache, which again is a tell. You
Yeah.
want to camp out with some kids?
Those are obvious. The obvious.
I'd rather go to the
pedophiles.
Four Seasons personally. What would you rather do?
I think we now understand that men who hang around, have jobs or hobbies that hang around children, is obvious pedophile. Just obvious pedophile. There's no reason for a man to want to instruct other people's children, especially at a younger age.
Even if it's your own, even if your kid is part of the club, it's like I'm just thinking like, well, you just got your kid into this so you could fuck his friends.
No, we had an element like younger nursery school, elementary school. There were like some male teachers. They were almost always gay, but there was one straight male teacher, and I always thought like at the nursery school or kindergarten, I can't remember. And I always thought like straight male guy teaching 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds, like what are you like? How many background checks can we run on this guy? Is he like my rule is he should have to turn over his logins to all his computer stuff. Like his computer should be inspected daily.
I agree.
Like I want his computer. I know it's a violation of civil rights. I want that guy's like IP traffic and computer inspected daily. Like,
absolutely.
yes.
And the way that it manifests itself to me is, and I don't even have any kids, but the guy that you're talking about, so I kind of walk up to him like, hey, what's up, man? Like, so you enjoy hanging out with these little kids? What's he's like, yes, I get a lot out of it. I like molding. Like, okay.
Like, why are you working with little? Like,
let's be real right now.
Yes. Why are you working?
Essentially, I play a mob character, and I'm like,
see.
if you do anything,
you don't try.
I don't even have any kids. I'm just saying, if you fucking, I will kill you.
I just run them out of town.
I've done this.
I would not even hire. I mean, we're going to talk about some discrimination against men later, but I really. Like working with young children should be a female job. There's no reason why a man, and maybe a super femme gay guy, fine, whatever. But there's no reason why a straight guy would want to work with other people's children, unless they were forced to by sort of prison labor standards or some sort of probation standards. Why would a guy want to be around like nurture 4-year-olds? It just doesn't make any sense at all.
I completely agree, and I also agree that. So someone's demolishing my pool at the moment. Not my own personal pool, the one that's in the building. There's not a hot chick, a good 36, 24, 36 running that jackhammer. Because, dude, it looks like it's killing those guys' backs, man.
Oh, man, the jackhammer?
Yeah.
That's got to be like an early life. It has to be the early end of life.
I feel bad for him. I was trying to give him some water. I actually gave him a couple of cocktails, but
you should go out there with those Brett Favre copper whatever they are, the back pain things. There's nothing you can really do to prevent like damage to your body from the jackhammer because you can't fucking stop that vibration through your body, that violent vibration through your body with any sort of back support or something like that. Just rattling your fucking.
It kills you. I've done it with stump grinding, which is probably similar. But my point being that, that there's a reason that people gravitate towards. If I saw a 5 foot tall, 90-pound chick running that jackhammer, I would have probably rushed over and said, "Hey, baby, let's stop this."
That'd be kind of like, let me take over for you, little sweetheart.
Yeah,
you can't run this. Matt, I want to move on to a different female issue, which is giving birth. You'll never give birth in your life, so you don't know what it's like to actually have a bear a child through your vagina or to hire, if you're a Hollywood person, to hire a surrogate to do that for you.
Well, I don't like that whole narrative. It's like, well, you would never know what it feels like to ejaculate semen out of your penis. Like, isn't that the same fucking argument?
Well, but that's a pleasurable thing, supposedly, but not like women will not. I mean, so men will never know what it's like to give birth to a child. And apparently, they always have this. Every woman's magazine has a scale of the pain level of giving birth, and it's always like higher than like getting gored by a bull or some sort of incision to your head or being shot. But of course, I would guess some 99% of women have some sort of pain medication.
So what percentage of people that got gored by a bull voluntarily got gored by a bull 5 or 6 times?
Well, those guys when they run the guys, I always root for the bulls, of course. I'm sure you do in bullfighting or the running of the bulls. When the guy gets like gored and it's like life-threatening, I'm like, yes. Like really take out his fucking liver.
No, but that is logically, I mean, if it is that painful.
Yeah.
The guy that or what's another example of the pain, like a scorpion sting, I think.
Yeah, or getting like your fucking finger crushed or something like that.
All right, so you're gonna complain to me, and I know plenty of people, most of them I like, some I don't, that have had children, and yeah, it's like no, it's super painful. Like,
well, I've seen the. Have you?
Never gonna do it again. Like, yeah. Okay, well.
They use drugs.
Why would you volunteer? If I got stung by a scorpion, do you think I'd stick my arm out a year later?
I think women
fucking sting me.
I think if there was no, the medication, the pain medication they use, the epidural, where they put it in the spinal cord, so that you feel much less below your waist. That's very common. That's most common.
I have an English degree.
Yeah.
I'm not bragging. It's not valuable whatsoever. Yeah. I'm just saying I had to do something. I never heard a lot of complaints back in the Middle Ages
about women giving birth. Well, they did die, and they used to die, of course. There was always, they would actually bleed to death.
Good.
Well, I haven't heard that one before.
No, I don't mean good. I'm just saying, like, well, have some dignity.
But modern childbirth is obviously a lot easier than it used to be. But somehow, I mean, no, it's easier now, as I'm saying. Like with the medications and the delivery, and they can there's no breech birth anymore. They do cesareans if there's any issues.
I don't want to know what breech birth is.
It's when the feet come out first, which can be whether it be an animal or human, can be very dangerous to the mother. It just happens naturally. But nowadays,
anyone who overhears the term. Also.
Well, nobody, they don't do breech. There's no such thing as a human breech birth anymore because either they turn the thing around or they do a cesarean, so they don't have to go through that.
Wait, there's a person that reaches their hands inside of the.
No, they do it actually externally.
Birth canal.
They do it externally.
Which was a vagina. I never been like, oh, dude, your birth canal feels great right now.
Well, that's turn around. I hate to inform you. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Not how I live.
But
anyway,
here's the point. So there's this new project. There's the next 10,000th project about how hard childbirth is called Life After Birth Project, a gallery in New York. It's photos of semi-famous, and I say like reality TV show people and sort of socialites in New York and stuff.
You sent me the link. Right?
Yeah, I just look at it. But it's like the whole new thing is to show. The whole thing is, and they all seem to be, of course, upscale white women, to show how difficult giving birth to a child is on your body and your everything. Like in the immediate days after, a couple weeks after, how like the ravages of childbirth, as if it's like a Hiroshima.
Oh, this is a woman wearing a weird diaper.
Yeah, the diaper.
It's not even a diaper. It's like a mesh. Granny panties with a thing that
catches all the.
I'm
goo.
Assuming secretes. With a giant maxi pad.
Yes. There's a lot of shit
they could actually make it a thong. It's unnecessary in this photo, I guess. Maybe.
Let me ask you a question because you haven't witnessed the miracle of childbirth before.
No, I have not.
So women put on like anywhere from 40 to 50, 60 pounds sometimes when they get pregnant.
Gross. Were they cool before that?
Well, yeah. I mean, even like a model, if she actually gets pregnant and gives birth, which doesn't really happen very often anymore. But they might, even a slender model might put 40 pounds on. Well, how much does a baby weigh?
12
like 8
pounds?
No, you're like say 8 pounds. Say 12
what,
pounds.
8 pounds?
Yeah, 12 pounds would be like one of those like Star Magazine giant babies. But say it's an 8 pound. So say the baby weighs 8 pounds. So that's
30, like 20 enchiladas.
Yeah, it's like but that's 8 pounds. So there's another 45 pounds in there. And some's fat. They put on some fat. But some of it is a lot of liquid. There's a lot of liquid that's built up inside the body from that. And that all comes out somewhere. So, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in there.
So at that point, aren't you like, babe...
the baby's been, obviously...
we could have just gone to Mexico.
Yes. So the baby
Spent the money on.
not to gross you out, but the baby's been eating has been eating and being receiving nutrition and also shitting for 9 months inside.
So shit is coming out of the woman's
It's not
pussy?
shit like you would think of shit, but it's like there's a waste product. So
Cool, man.
it's like if you just you went to the bus, so you just clean your bathroom every 9 months.
Feeling pretty good about my whole
Yes.
non-reproductive thing.
But it's horrible. But here's the point: the whole idea is to equate like giving birth. You know what's her name? Amy Schumer keeps posting on Instagram about like how exhausted she is. She has one child, of course, and obviously 5 nannies. How exhausted she is. She went through the whole thing during childbirth. She had to vomit, but
she had a kid at like 48, by the way, too.
Yeah, but it is harder because when you get older, it's definitely harder on women.
Oh, they had to blast a bunch of. That was a real science experiment.
It's kind of like playing basketball when you're 39, like a pickup game. How sore you get afterwards. It's just like
dude, I am weird.
Yeah.
Sorry, I want you to get to your point, but
I don't know if I will.
on Tinder,
Yeah.
and Bumble, it's really strange because every 37-year-old chick.
Yeah.
I had capped it at 33, but then I was like, I kind of went through all this. It all says, "Kids, do you want someday?" Like,
You're like,
you know,
what?
it's
Yeah.
like, do you want kids? And the answer is someday. And I'm like,
You got to put something.
yeah. Do I have to be friends with fucking Steve Jobs here? Like, how the fuck is that going to happen?
You're never going to put never, right? Because then you lose like 90% of the women.
Oh yeah,
As a guy, you would never put never. If you don't want kids, you never put never, right?
of course not.
Because then you would like
But we could have kids until we're 65 years old.
Yeah, but women are having them older, and so it is. I would say this: it is definitely the older you get for the women, the more physically difficult it is. Because, like I said, like with the pickup basketball game analogy, when you're 16, you play pickup basketball, you're fine. When you're 40, you play pickup basketball, you're like you can't walk for 3 days afterwards. You need to fucking
Like, dude, I just put myself through that.
yeah, you like need some Bengay and shit. And like,
Well, I just picture people having, which really trips me out, is people that are like, we're trying to have a kid.
yeah,
And I'm like, which one of you? So I just picture like the robotic sex of like, this used to be fun, but now we're just like doing.
I think it's mostly test tube at this point. It's mostly outside the body.
Also really gross. I think at that point I'd be like, sorry, why am I necessary here?
But because women used to have babies when they were
Chuck E. Cheese.
they used to have babies when they were 18, 19, 20, and now it's 40, and there's a whole different ball. That's a whole different ball game. Here's the point: the monumentality. How monumental can it be in terms of like monumental kind of means monumental, right? It means like it stands out apart from everything else. How monumental can be suffering be of having a baby if it happens billions of times, and like. It's not like how can a daily occurrence, a regular occurrence, a natural body occurrence be monumental in and of itself just by definition of the word monumental? Isn't it ordinary and typical and plain and natural and
yeah, I could.
like,
I think I could maybe answer that,
Yes.
not to sound arrogant, but if it was that painful, it probably wouldn't happen as much.
no,
So
not in this day and age.
depending on, or
I mean,
ever.
you can. Well, I mean, in the old days, women got what's his name? Who was the guy, the congressman from Iowa, that racist congressman who said like, if it weren't for rape, like I mean, by the way, true, but if it weren't for rape, like we all wouldn't be around today. But like
that is accurate.
It is accurate, but it's not something you say as a congressman. But it's true. I mean, women used to be forced to have babies, and now they have in the United States have total control of whether or not they have babies.
Yeah,
largely.
I mean, continue going. All right, so every day, depending on what kind of stats you follow, between 275,000 and 320,000 babies are born every day.
Right. Most of them
Most
not.
of this third world.
Most of the third world not in it, like an LA or New York hospital, with like top level treatment and like medications and everything to provide you comfort in the moments and thereafter. So like of anywhere of those 300,000 babies, the people in this project, in this gallery project, had it the easiest of all 300,000 people.
Super easy. I don't even like. Dude, there's no way. If it was that painful, there's no way that we would exist because nature would have not allowed that to happen.
No, of course it can't. It can't be that. And now, obviously, the women.
Maybe that you're just complaining.
Yes, that's. I mean, but
you ever get?
you have the fact that women can always say like women can always say you have no idea what it's like because you're a man. You'll never go through this. I'm like, yes, that's true. But the fact that we
You
can't.
ever talk to a guy that passed a kidney stone?
Yeah, actually,
Or have you?
No, I'm not yet. I look forward to it
knocking
someday.
on your wood table here.
Look for it someday. But again, those are probably less voluntary. But
you could say to a woman, if you were being a dick like I would, well, you could not know how that felt, and that would be true.
Yeah, and then you could say it can't. The whole thing I don't like is they're making these like sort of metaphors and similarities compared to like say a military veteran who was like blown up in war. Like comes back missing a leg and half his side of his body.
Not sure how that would feel.
What I'm saying is like they're comparing this to like a war hero-esque, like, you know, the photos, the memes, they all look like sort of a Walter Reed Hospital like Afghanistan veteran thing. But like here's a guy like who's now like on two like metal legs, right? Because he got blown up from the waist down. And they're comparing sort of in the same. It looks the same. The way they're treating this, like giving birth, is the same way of like here's the after birth, like I just came back from war, like I was just like,
well, you know women also serve in combat, although I think you also probably know the percentage of wounded
women versus men. They don't serve. Yeah, they don't put them in four.
It's about 94%.
Well,
I'm questioning the other sex.
I just say it's not like giving birth outside of the few cases and in modern medicine in the West, very 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 few cases. It's not debilitating like a war, like getting blown up. It's just not. You're able to be like.
It's not like getting blown up.
No, it's not like It's not like a life-altering disfigurement that causes you, like okay, maybe later on you get some back pain from carrying the child when you get older or whatever. But like, it's actually healthy for women to have babies. It actually lower cancer rates, lower other rates from actually having babies. It provides things to their body that actually helps them.
Probably versus crackhead stats.
I'm not sure it's the cancer rates, the rates of cancer for women that have had babies are lower than those that don't, because it actually provides it's a hormone, however the hormones work, some shit like that. But it is.
I might have to argue with you.
It's painful in the moment.
Don't you think people that the women that can't have babies are pretty ill already?
Well, they maybe have different lives. They drink a lot of wine, but it's like so it's painful obviously in the moment if you're not medicated, but most are medicated. And then afterwards, there's like some tearing and shit like that. You have to recover for a few weeks.
Yeah, I don't want to get too into it.
No, I know you don't.
Do they? Because I have.
But it's like
I have had sex with a woman that has had a kid before. It's not a big deal. I didn't know.
No, women are designed to have multiple children.
But did they?
It's not like one. It's not a one and done.
Used to sew it? Like, do they actually? Like, I'm picturing like a sewing needle, just kind of.
I think that's about it. Yeah, but it's
horrifying.
Well,
I guess the body's pretty resilient.
Yeah, I mean, if you cut your hand, I mean, you'd get it stitched up, and then like a year later, you wouldn't notice it.
Well, if I cut my hand,
it's not like
9 times. I think it would look pretty weird.
Well, I think that it does get a little bigger down there after, because you get the hip I think it's the bone displacement that's like the hips displace to provide for the child to come through.
Oh, so the hips like get
the bones widen out.
Oh, I always thought that was just a function of getting older as a
No,
woman.
I think it's maybe both, but all I remember is like when I lived in Scandinavia, and all the young women are obviously gorgeous, just gorgeous young women, but very pale, fragile, gorgeous, like model gorgeous.
Yeah.
120-pound blonde, perfect skin, like 19 or 20.
Great.
But after they've had babies, that body does not hold up well. They get like the big, wide. They turn like Hausfrau pretty fast.
Dude, you're just turning me more onto Tinder and that.
I think I compare that to like let's say Asian ladies or other ladies that maybe don't like have that same or darker skin ladies that don't show it as much and don't have that same issue because they may be a little bigger to begin with. But like a slender Nordic young girl who has a baby.
So you're saying there's a set distance of the pelvis,
yes,
that will not spread, which is why they call it childbearing hips, right?
The babies are the same size, so the space that they come out of has to be the same size.
Dude,
ultimately.
if we were doing this podcast in like the 1500s,
yes,
we'd be like, dude, look at that hot chick, dude. Her fucking, her ass is like super wide.
Oh yeah. We'd be all like we'd be like black guys who just like were totally appreciated. But if you're a larger, so if you are a black chick perhaps, or an Asian chick or whatever, someone has naturally wider hips to begin with, the impact of having the baby is going to be much less noticeable than if you're like a frail, thin white girl, because it's not only going to change the hips, but it's also your skin. You're going to go through like some
right.
stuff.
You sort of got almost the shoulder ratio.
Yeah.
You're sort of like. Like the Asian black chicks, it's like, she could till a field.
Yes.
And
they do. And they go, you mentioned before the show started, your mom went back to work the day after she gave birth.
as she claims, but I guarantee it was pretty soon after.
But let's say it was a week after, whatever. You can't do that after an IED goes off. You can't do that after you lose your leg. You're out for you're rehabbing for 2 years trying to get on your prosthetics.
She also told me she get. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
But I think in every country in the world, in every third world country where 90% of the babies are born, they probably go back. They probably get 24 hours off. They're back on the field because otherwise they starve.
Well, see, I don't have the lifestyle, and you do to a degree because you support your family very admirably. But I don't have to deal with any of that shit. So
well, you're the guy. You can leave after the baby comes out.
No, I would never do that.
But the thing about it, the way men have evolved is to provide the sperm to then go away and either bring food back, come back with food, or go make another baby somewhere else. Women are naturally born, and this I don't want to sound like the guy from the guy from Iowa.
No, you're all right. No big deal.
Yes. It's but women are biologically designed to be able to recover from childbirth fairly quickly, such that they can take care of the baby and continue to feed the baby and provide for the baby. So it's not like they just it's like childbirth knocks them out for 3 weeks and the baby lays there for 3 weeks and starves to death. There'd be no children in this world.
What if we started giving women, like sort of Irish Catholic women,
yes.
you know how when Barry Bonds was doing all that HGH,
yes,
it's all recovery.
Right.
It wasn't actually the muscle mass, that led him to hit. Was it 72 or 80 home runs? Who the fuck knows?
75, I think he hit.
Something ridiculous.
Yeah, yes.
But it wasn't the. People have a misconception about the hormones in that it built like his biceps were super huge.
It doesn't make you bigger. The hormones don't make you bigger. It allows you to. It allows you to
recover faster.
To recover faster.
So if we
so
start giving that shit to these fucking African Salvadorian women, dude, they can.
I like where you're headed with this.
Recover faster.
Yes.
Now you're having.
I think they recover
a prodigious
faster.
amount of children. You're having 37 kids by the time you're 50.
How long do you think the Salvadoran farmer lady gets off after she gives birth before she has to go back and work in the field again? An hour, an hour. I don't know.
A week? I don't know.
They're not getting the Google one year maternity. The Google 1 year maternity.
I'm pretty fascinated. I don't understand. I just don't understand. My mom told me that she gave birth to me at 4 a.m. It was 50 below zero. And I don't know why she told me that story, but I think it was something about I went through.
She wants you to appreciate the fact that
something.
Which I think it's fair. I think it's a fair deal to say that your fucking dad will never know what I went through to give birth.
But why
he didn't do shit. He didn't do shit.
All right, so you're in Mexico, right? And Mexico isn't like what you and I think of, or how I think of Mexico, I should say. I think of Mexico like I'm gonna have a margarita.
Yeah, no, I think about it as a fucking criminal dump.
I don't. If you're gonna complain about it, I mean, I guess I don't want to sound like a broken record. Then why the?
I don't. Here's what I think about it. So when
why would you keep doing it? It's that painful.
The complaints about when I see the war, the veterans' wounds, I think there's a reason for this, which is it's going to educate people about the horrors of war, and maybe we'll have less war in the future, or maybe we'll at least take care of our wounded veterans. There's a point to this sort of exploitation of their wounds.
Yeah.
When I see this stuff, like the woman in the diaper, like the model who's now wearing a diaper to show how honest and horrible the experience was for her, like what it's really like. And I think women, first of all, women already know what it's really like because they've gone through it. So what is the point? What is the point here? To get more maternity leave, to get men to be
I think that might be
stop beating their wives after they get birth. Is that happening? What is the end goal of this project of Life After Birth Project Gallery in New York? What is the point of this it's just a celebration of us. It's just us women in this whatever who give birth, like Amy Schumer celebrating our heroic status.
Yeah, it's
there's no external goal to this other than
obvious.
It's narcissistic.
It's
right?
obviously narcissistic
yes.
thing. I mean, look, only one time in my life did I have food poisoning, and it was purely my fault. There's this Thai restaurant that was in a strip mall near my house,
yes.
and I ate it. It was really good. Went out, got drunk, left it on the counter. It was probably 95 degrees out.
Yeah.
Decided to dip bread into the curry sauce, and I was like, oh my God. Did I post a photo of what happened after that and ask for for support? No, I did not.
No,
I laid with my eyes watering for 2 days and then went about my fucking business. I don't understand how it's any different.
No, and it's always, by the way, I might give some credence to like actually the Salvadoran woman in the farm who's forced to go back to work 4 hours after giving birth. I'd at least feel sorry for her because that seems like too much. That seems like the other side of the pendulum. That's too much. But these are almost always rich white women like Amy Schumer and this other Bravo who are complaining about this shit. Like the people who are least affected by this, whatever this may be, this horror may be, they're the least affected by of the entire set of people that go through childbirth. And they're complaining. They're the ones who are highlighting their suffering.
Dude, the Colombian chick, and this doesn't, this isn't a racist comment. I think it's more just a reflection of sort of their culture. I don't think they even think about it.
Nope.
It just seems like a norm. Like,
well, they're also they're also Catholic, right? So they're like they believe they're doing God's work by having babies. So they're actually rewarded.
So they're psychopaths.
Well, no, but I'm saying they're socially rewarded for having lots of babies.
So, right.
So for them, it's actually like I am doing. You have the priest come by and say what a wonderful servant of Christ you are, and you have like the ladies in the church telling you how great you are, and like the woman who can't give birth or only has one kid is looking at you like jealously because you have 8 kids. It's like there's a social status to having, and also by the way, the men too in Central America, Latin America gain social status by making more babies.
Oh yeah. No, I dated well, I shouldn't say date. By the way, do you know what dated means? It means that you're fucking someone.
Yeah, I know what it means. I know what it means.
Yeah, it's
I also thought
euphemism.
I thought about you, Match.com, or they always put out like they're experts in statistical data on singles. They put out every month or so. They put out a study that the New York Post and other places will post as like sort of science. Mm-hmm. They said the average date cost like in California. They did by state $290. The average date. And I was thinking about you when they put that out. I was thinking, no, that's not
$290.
I was thinking like, well, that's an average because I was thinking about you. I was thinking like, you're probably taking the average down a little. You're taking the average down a little bit.
I'm taking it way down,
yes.
buddy.
Yes, I was like, okay. I mean, I was thinking like, okay, if that's the average,
how much is a Coors Light?
Exactly. Well, the way
$290 that seems
the way they did
this
I think it was $230 actually in California. New York was $310. I think the way this is how bad their science is. They said, here's the cost of like a nice dinner out with a full bottle of wine at a restaurant, then going to the movies afterwards.
I would like to do that after I fuck the chick 25 times.
Right, that's what I was thinking. Like, is that a date anymore? Who goes on dates like that? Like, even Jeffrey Epstein.
I think there's some pretty depraved individuals out there that'll fall for that shit.
Really? $300 a date? Really? Like,
there's some sad.
Yeah.
Dude, everyone makes fun of incels.
Yes.
And it's like, well, dude, the guy's just trying to fuck some whore. He doesn't know any better.
Yes,
she's like, you want to go to Gladstone?
So they join up. Then they become like shooters.
I'll have the halibut. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
After like $300 dates, they just go buy an AR-15 would be cheaper.
I would too. I mean, I don't necessarily blame them. Although I can't condone the whole school stuff.
No. But I was thinking about you, like when I saw the average date. But I was thinking like that's not like that's an anniversary. I don't know. Like that's not a date.
That seems high. Yeah. I would say it's probably more like 8 and 9.
Well, it was based off going to like. Fucking the Palm.
They're also
like that.
They're also probably interviewing like super aggro,
yeah,
like weird guys that actually.
Well,
respond.
no, they weren't even. All they were doing was saying what that date, if you went on it, would cost. Like what a dinner, a bottle of wine, and going to a movies costs. So they were just saying that's what that would cost, but not saying that was why the science was so bad.
Well, by the way,
who's doing that date? They're all doing fucking Netflix and
I'll do that date. There's
$2 Chuck.
I could if I could actually plug it.
Yes.
Not that I own any stake in it, but just for an example, if you're going to do that, there's a place on Santa Monica Boulevard in West Hollywood called Galang, a really good Thai restaurant, Thai family owned, very nice people. You go in there, you order a couple entrees, bring your own beer.
Yes.
Which means you can also bring a bottle of wine.
Right.
Which might cost you anywhere between, in my case, $4 and $9.
$2 Chuck is now $4, right?
And so now you have this whole experience, although you're picking up
you got the Ripple
$37 check. And that's just
it's awesome.
Dude,
It's awesome when
duped.
It's awesome when you and the homeless guy started drinking the same wine. Like, hey man, I think we like the same wine. Like that's awesome.
You don't have any more beer, do you?
No, I don't. I'm afraid.
But let's just keep going.
But here's the thing. So that's like that's a bogus stuff. Back to I want to close out on the women giving birth stuff. Can we agree? I think you and I can agree as a men. This is all bullshit, and I don't understand. The thing that bothers me most again is like I don't know what the point of this campaign is it to get men to just like adore women who give birth and as if like treat them better, or is it like, I mean, everyone's already giving maternity leave up the wazoo, so it's not about that. Every company now has like outrageously long maternity
What
policies.
do you think it is? I have a theory.
I think it's women. When I see like I've been following Amy Schumer when she does this, and I think it's just a way for her actually. There's some narcissism involved, obviously, but I think it's a way for her to connect to other women, a women-specific New York, L.A. women-specific audience that feed her audience is like, yes, we're all in this together, ladies. Kind of
I would almost, I think that's true. I would go a little bit more nefarious though, in that I think if you give someone an inch, they'll take a fucking mile or whatever the fucking stupid analogy is. I think that it's a way to sort of gradually gain entitlement.
Yeah, but what I'm getting is I don't know what is that entitlement like. Is there a specific thing to it, or is it just like
like a year from now? And by the way, I love Bernie, and I hope he wins the nomination. I'd vote for him. But yeah, if they're like, now women have fucking 5 years to raise a kid for free. I'm like, okay, well, that seems.
They're going for a
I
year
think
now.
that's what they're driving at.
I guess, but these aren't even women who need. These aren't even women who need in
I
this.
don't know why my Bernie sounded like Obama.
I don't know. I feel like Bernie's about to die like any day now. I know Biden's the old one, but I feel like Bernie's old too.
Dude, Biden looks old as fuck.
He's and by the way, one thing people don't talk about with Biden is like the election's not for like 14 more months. Like if he's at this level now in 14 more months, well, it doesn't seem like a long time. When you're that age, it's a long time. Like he's not getting better. So in 14 months,
He's not getting better.
I mean, he literally could be like
He's not going to get better.
he's not. He's declining, right?
I don't see him having a rally.
No, but it's not like when you're 40 and you decline after 40 slowly. When you're 77 or whatever and you're in that state, 14 months is a long time. You could decline a lot in 14 months.
Well, he's got to start doing drugs. Trump is 74, is that correct?
73 or 74.
73?
Yeah.
He
looks a lot more active, for
he
sure.
does speed all day, and
That's
therefore
fine.
he can't read or process thoughts.
No. But he's got a lot of energy.
Can we give Biden, like, infiltrate Trump's world, which isn't difficult, and then give him some of that? Maybe just.
I'm just saying, if
and then
Biden-
if he dies the next day, I don't give a
Biden
shit.
could win and literally be like drooling at like the inauguration, like have to be like an FDR type where he's just drooling and stuff because he's not, and he can't like read a speech and he has to like type it out or something with his fingers. He could be like literally infirmed. Like,
Is there a problem when your eyes start watering?
yeah, he just looks like old. He looks like Trump. You're right. He's only like 3 or 4 years different, but Trump, for all his idiocy, doesn't look like an old guy, whereas Biden looks like an old guy. Trump looks like he kind of, with his fake hair and the tan and the other stuff, he kind of has that.
Are we
like,
going to make fun of Biden for a fake hair and tan?
No. I'm saying Trump has fake hair and tan.
Oh, so does Biden.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but he still looks like a guy in a senior home. Trump still looks like a guy who like goes out to steak restaurants at night and like
Biden
drinks
looks like
booze
a
and
guy
yells.
that's dictating his last thoughts.
Yes.
Into a.
Yeah, he looks like he's on his, like he's in the old folks home. I want to talk about gay football players.
Nice.
How many people? What? So, if the population of let's say the
80%.
say the general population is like, I don't know, they 5% or 6% gay or whatever they come up with. It's always higher for the women because it's chic to be lesbian. But the gay male, I think, is 4% in this country of people who self-identify as gay in secret anonymous surveys or whatever for Gallup and stuff. So it's 4%. Now, where you live, it's obviously 95%, but it's 4%.
It's like 80. Don't be a dick.
Nationally. What percent of the NFL players would you legitimately think are gay? Do you think it's higher, lower than national average, much higher, much lower, or just right there? Is it just 4%?
I bet you it's slightly lower, but right around the same aspect. Because I think there's the same rate. Because I think there's a lot of guys that are kind of on the fence that are just have low T and they're just like little slinky little guys, and they're like, well, I don't really give a shit either way. So,
but those guys aren't playing football. Oh, you're saying those are not football players?
They're not. So I think it's probably right around the same rate, but slightly lower.
What percentage of NFL players do you think are sucking dick, like at some point actively currently right now?
Well, NFL, see the black guy thing. I don't know, 3.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with 3. Does
Okay,
that
so it's a
sound
little
okay?
bit. So it's not higher. It's not abnormally different than the.
2?
So
I
it's,
don't
so it's
know.
fair to say there's probably a couple gay dudes.
Well,
in every
Dwight
team.
Howard. I don't know if you're following that. I mean, if I only know basketball, so
Yes.
I would say that's probably about one.
So you think it's like one gay? You think it's like one gay dude?
Not one guy. I'm saying 1%.
Do you think it's? Oh, you think so? You don't think it's like a gay dude on every team?
No, but
Okay.
there's probably a gay guy on every other team.
Every football team.
How about that?
So every football team
teams
has a
have
gay
like
guy.
98 people on their fucking stupid roster.
So this guy,
there's
right-
obviously a gay guy in every football team.
There is, but here's the thing that bothers me, and like I guess like the only guy I liked was what was that guy out of Missouri, Sam? Michael Sam, who actually came out as gay in college before the draft, so that he could at least say when he wasn't drafted, and the Rams eventually took him and then cut him just because somebody had to take him. That at least he was like,
that
yeah,
the NFL threatened to penalize any team that didn't take him after he wasn't taken. That is not a conspiracy. That's an absolute fact.
But I'm saying, like I think he knew that. Like he knew that he was going to get some. I think in the long term he was fucked, but in the short term he was going to get some benefit out of that, making out with his boyfriend with the cake. On the ESPN
I think he thought he was going to get a lot more benefit than he actually did.
Yes.
I think he thought he was rolling that fucking train all the way down the station.
He was going to be the first like openly gay NFL guy and make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, it turns out no one gave a shit.
No one gave. They hired him because they had to. Then they slowly put him out the back door, and then he went away. And I don't know how good of a player. I mean, he was a great college player. I don't know how good he would have been in the NFL. But clearly, it was like he was spending a lot of time like on Oprah and doing other shit.
Well,
like,
if you're borderline, it's the same with Cap. If you're annoying,
yes,
and you're just like maybe good enough or not. It could be a comedian, could be an actor. It's like if no one likes you, not because you're gay, just because you're a fucking annoying motherfucker.
Yes, you're not going to get. They're not going to take you.
Ain't going to work out.
No, I mean how? I mean you have to be. I mean obviously they will take wife abusers or drug addicts if they're really good players. You know,
Aaron Rodgers is probably gay, right?
Probably.
I mean, he's really good.
He did have that male roommate. I don't understand rich guys who have male roommates. I've never understood that. Like if you're making $8 million a year, why do you have a male roommate?
Because you're fucking him.
I've never. I mean, maybe you have your buddies live in the fucking pool house, guest house, because they're broke ass and they're friends. I don't know, but sharing a place with the guy.
Oh, I'll have my homies from back home crash. That's not a problem.
But having a single guy who's also like your masseuse,
you're not from the same town.
Your masseuse, yeah, it's kind of strange. So Ryan Russell, I have never heard of the guy, but I guess he played for Dallas for 2 years for the Cowboys, and he wasn't like horrible. He made the team twice. So he wasn't cut like right away.
Well, when you watch football, which I think is a really stupid sport, sorry to interject.
I love sport
quickly.
Yes.
You watch a certain play and 95 guys smash into each other.
Yeah.
And then they cut to a commercial. So he was one of those guys.
But he made to be not cut. You can see like the talent in the preseason. These guys get cut are amazing. They're all excellent college players. So the talent level in the NFL it whittles down. There's just less spots. So you could be like. An amazing college player, physical specimen, and still not making the NFL. It happens all the time. So I assume this guy is a naturally gifted athlete, superior in most other ways. But I mean, it wasn't like he'd be doing. You can't fake you can't mediocre your way to the NFL. No one's putting you on their limited roster spot.
It's very subjective at that point. When if you're interviewing someone for a what's the term, middle safety position.
Yes.
Just alienated everyone.
You won your fantasy football league how many years in a row?
That's my exact point.
Yes.
No, a free safety.
Yes.
There's probably 100 guys that can run the same speed that are the same size. So what do you base that on?
But those are 100 guys in the entire country. So it's not like there's 100 guys like in the local town.
There's like 500 guys in the country.
Yes. But it's still there's a very small number. There's guys who are smart as Stephen Hawking, but there's not that many. Like there weren't that many. There's not like guys like Stephen Hawking don't come around. There's a few like 10, 15 people like as smart as Stephen Hawking, but not like thousands of Stephen Hawking guys out there, right?
I'd say it's on par. Yeah.
Really?
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, but so I mean, you can't fake because first of all they test you physically in every way possible. I mean, they're measuring you constantly, so you can't fake that. And then second of all, you have to be willing to fucking die out in the field and take hits and like hit people hard and kill them and stuff like that. So there's that killer instinct. Point being, the guy got cut, and now he's gay. He's coming out. Well, first of all, here's what bothered me. He came out as bisexual, which is, by the way, like
it's a cop out.
Total cop out. If you, like, I wrote this on Twitter. Like, if you fucking put a dick in your mouth, you're gay. There's just no bisexual stuff. Women can get away with the bisexual stuff because of the collective social intimacy and the different levels. If you're fucking another dude, you're gay, right? So that's fine. And that's fine. But he came out as bisexual, and then they always wait until they've been cut and they can't get a job like whichever gay Collins brother. We were trying to figure out which of the gay Collins brothers was.
I believe it was Jaron.
There's Jared and Jason.
Jaron Collins.
One of them was gay. One of them was just soft. So I don't remember which one it was.
Someone at Stanford has to do a study on those two guys.
Oh my God!
Like, how come you turned out like that? The other. And
well, but I think actually, as I recall, like the one who was played more aggressively was the one who came out as gay.
Yeah. The gay guy was the better player.
Yes.
To be clear, neither of them were very good.
But they wait until they're. I think the other Collins. Well, he's actually
Jason Collins.
He's coaching now for the Warriors, I think. But they have all played like they played like 15. Yes. Yeah. There's only gay people in San Francisco, Matt. You have to go there to be gay now.
Dude, I've been there.
Yes.
There are not a lot of women there.
There are not. By the way, but I'm just saying, I'm only pointing out the lunacy of you living in West Hollywood and making fun of people going to San Francisco.
It's not even the same thing. Anyway, continue.
By the way, San Francisco, I will mention this years ago when I was single, great place for straight guys. Amazing place for straight guys. Because there are just, if you go to straight bars, there's like more women in the bars than there are men, which is...
Yeah, if you're into like thick calves, it's probably great.
Yeah, I love thick calves, man. That was a good work. I'll tell you what about thick calves. They go back to work after giving birth.
You know what the hot chicks that grew up in the Bay Area do? They moved to Los Angeles.
But with the internet stuff, they're hiring. Here's the thing about like successful companies.
I'm not saying it's a huge.
This is
metro
before
area.
then.
There's no way that there's not.
No, but imagine like
in
if you go into like a Boston bar, let's say it's straight. They're mostly straight. They're all straight bars in Boston, I guess. You go to a Boston bar, and there's like 10 dudes for every girl.
Yeah,
and it's a sausage party. If you go into like a straight bar in San Francisco, because half or more of the guys are gay and single men and gay in San Francisco, there's just a lot of women ratio towards men. So in terms of your pursuit of getting action, it just works. There's a whole different dynamic there when there's more women than men.
Absolutely. They're almost surprised that you're not gay.
They're all surprised you're not gay.
You end up fucking your hairstylist and your realtor.
There's no like 6 guys around the hot girl. There's like maybe 1 guy. It's like the competition level is just a lot less.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Why do these guys wait until they can't be hired again to come out as gay? Well, when is someone going to come out? So this guy, Ryan Russell's now in L.A. with his blonde boyfriend, and they're doing the kissing thing for all the tabloids.
I want to see his boyfriend.
Yes. He looks like a Lance Bass, kind of like...
Just like a token gay guy.
Well, Ryan Russell is a big black dude.
No, I know.
And his boyfriend's like a twink blonde guy.
I follow fantasy football, so I was...
Yes.
Not aware of Ryan Russell before this.
Well, he's a defensive player. At no point.
So he smashed into another guy for 0.9 seconds every other game. Cool. Yeah.
The more you
fan.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say this: you're making fun of football like but what is it? Is this like
look at his boyfriend?
Why won't some guy? And then they always come out with like, everyone on my team supports me. I've gotten all these secret letters from NFL players saying they support me and everything I'm doing. Like, what are you doing? You waited until there was no risk whatsoever, came out as bisexual, whatever the hell that means, and now you're trying to get like a gig in Hollywood on a reality show or something because you can't get an NFL job anymore. We're like, we talk about the heroism of giving birth. What is the heroism of like waiting until you lose your job? And albeit it would be really tough to be an openly gay guy in an NFL locker room. I admit that. But someone has to take a stand. Someone has to be the fucking Harvey Milk.
I think you're absolutely right, and I loved your take, which I hadn't thought about Kaepernick, which was he did have a chance before he was marginally in the league to make a point.
He was a Super Bowl. He was
Super Bowl Sunday, and if he would have raised a fist or laid down his jersey,
refused to play. Yep.
But it turns out that he only did that after he maybe or maybe not had a job.
After Blaine Gabbert took his job.
Looking at
Blaine Gabbert.
That sounds like a made-up name.
It does.
I don't know who the fuck that is.
The most mediocre quarterback ever in NFL history was promoted over him because Kaepernick was just not that good.
Or maybe he was just that much of a fucking annoying asshole. I don't know. I did see him on Rodeo Drive, and he was buying diamonds, and I was like,
I feel like...
What the fuck? Are you kidding me?
I think in professional sports, you can be an annoying asshole if you're really good. Look at Barry Bonds. You mentioned Barry Bonds earlier. Universally hated by his own teammates as well. But of course, he still played, and he was still a star because he was doing what he was doing. I think pro sports, and Barry Bonds had his own locker room. I don't know if you knew that when he played with the Giants. They had to create a separate locker room area just for Barry Bonds.
I did not know that.
Because he was so disliked by his teammates.
Wait, he was that abrasive of a person?
They just didn't like...
How could everyone hate you?
They just didn't like him.
I think like probably 20% of people hate me.
He got in a fight with like... Jeff Kent was on the Giants. He was like the old school baseball guy.
Love Jeff Kent.
Yeah, old school baseball guy, like baseball, whatever.
Second baseman.
He got in a fist fight with Barry Bonds just because Barry Bonds is such a fucking annoying, self-centered
Feisty
asshole.
little Jeff Kent.
Yeah, but he was the guy like I think Jeff Kent was like, look, someone's got to fucking punch this guy in the face, and I'm going to be the guy to do it.
I respect
I
that.
totally respect
I might
that.
buy his jersey.
But they all, whenever you asked about him, all the players, I love Barry, I respect him, he's great. You know, like all the fans. I mean, if you're winning, if you're a winner, if you're Kobe Bryant, who you hate, but you're getting titles, people will let you. It doesn't matter what an asshole you are. People will still put up with you.
This guy, I'm sorry,
You have the picture,
Michael. Yeah, I was looking at it as you were just.
I keep thinking
about obscure references
about Russell
from
Wilson
the
because
1980s
another
in the Bay
gig,
Area.
another gig guy.
He looks like an annoying. So he's flaunting it. That
Yes.
that would be like if I showed up in the locker room with like a chick who had triple D tits and wearing a G string, and I was
Yep.
like, "Hey, here's my girlfriend." And everyone
Right.
would just be like, yeah, okay. Anyway, what were we talking about before that? No one cares about
No.
this. This guy, the guy he's dating is just a cookie cutter fucking twink
Yes.
loser.
Yes.
Who doesn't know he's being used by this narcissist asshole who's barely employed. I hope they don't hire him. Fuck him. I don't like him.
They're never going to hire him again, and now he's going to come out with like some sort of like not hiring gay people thing. I
Yeah,
don't
heard
like
it.
this whole like. I would love for somebody. I mean, I don't care that much, but it would be great if someone just said like who was a star in the NFL said I'm like Aaron Rodgers maybe now. Someone who still got shit on the line
Do you think Roger? Sorry, go ahead.
to come out and just say I'm gay, deal with it. Right?
Is Rogers covertly doing that with the mustache?
I don't know.
Is he sort of
don't know.
what's the term? Is he
But he's
signifying?
even
something?
he is at the
Is
he's.
he wearing like a red bandana out of his
might
fucking
be.
jock strap? At
But I'm
this
talking
point?
about a big muscular black dude who's like an all-star linebacker would come out and say I'm gay, deal with it. That would be meaningful to me, right? That would be something.
I wouldn't even care if it was.
No, but I'm saying in terms of
any-
advancing the fact that like gay dudes don't have to lie about being gay in the NFL anymore, which just seems like a fair enough point.
Well, how about Dwight Howard, who's obviously
He's at the end of his career too. He's like in the Collins area now too.
yeah, he's actually borderline.
But a young star. There's always stories like this young guy who used to play was gay, and some guy knows 20 stars who played in Major League Baseball the last 50 years who were gay, but none of them have ever come out. No one's ever. It's just like Hollywood actors. There's no major actor who's come out as gay.
I'm trying to think of the. No, you're right.
Just show some fucking.
Actually,
have some
dude,
balls.
Tom Cruise. Actually, Cruise is doing well, and I think Cruise is a great actor. How about
your
Travolta?
mom? Your mom loves him.
She's real into him. She doesn't believe my stories. So Travolta, not a great actor, and you know, has not aged very well. And,
He's working a lot though.
and
now.
most certainly a gay man.
Mm-hmm.
If he came out and just did a sit down with Robin Roberts,
Yeah.
and just said, you know,
Also gay.
yeah, we're all gay,
Openly gay. Yeah.
See,
But that would be as
that would
meaningful-
help his career quite a bit. I never understand the thing because it's always the 50-year-old gay guy who's like, well, it turns out I've been gay this whole time, and I'm like, what? So your wife just you're a fucking dick.
Well,
dude.
there's Scientology. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, yeah. So when the
You
guy,
think that's cool that you fucking pretended to be straight?
I think the wife
What about
knows.
the woman?
The wife always knows. She knows.
Well,
You
it's
think-
not cool.
You think Kelly Preston after
No, you just
25?
expose her to AIDS. Fucking like.
You know that Kelly Preston after 25 years, John Travolta doesn't know he's gay.
I know that she does, but
Yes.
I'm just going based on the
Yes.
narrative.
It's bullshit.
If that was the actual truth, that would
Yes.
make you a fucking asshole, dude. Because you just ruined this. You took this woman's livelihood
Yes.
and
Yeah. No. I mean, I
pretending that you enjoyed. Fucking
I don't respect the whole thing. Is now you have to respect Ryan Russell for coming out as bisexual, whatever the fuck that is. And like, no, I don't respect you at all. You've put zero skin in the. You put zero on the line. Actually, you put less than zero on the line for what you just did. When you could have had like Kaepernick, you could have put everything on the line, and you put zero on the line. Why am I supposed to like respect some statement you're making by hanging around the blonde twink going down Santa Monica Boulevard to go?
No, he's an annoying asshole. I think I might have seen him earlier, actually, when I was.
Well, if you see a 6'4" like behemoth black guy walking with a little 120-pound blonde twink
Dude, it's so cartoonish.
with TMZ cameras
But
following him,
You know
that's
what?
him.
I just thought of, and maybe this is a bit, maybe it's not. If you're bisexual, right, which we probably don't think is really a thing.
No.
Well, then I'd like to see your little twink fuck boy. And then on your other arm,
Yeah.
I'd like to see an actual woman because you're bisexual.
Just like Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, and Katie Holmes.
He really had a hard time with her. By the way, here's how you know Jamie Foxx is absolutely not. Well, we knew he was gay before. But how I actually know he's gay is that the minute he broke up with Katie Holmes, who's like the least sexy woman ever in Hollywood, She's the least sexual person in Hollywood, probably in terms of actresses.
I bet her pussy is drier than what's that river that's drying up?
I don't know.
The salt water.
Okay,
anyway,
like that. That's. I mean, either way, she's not she seems like a very boyish girl, whatever, asexual. I mean, she's with Tom Cruise and everything. But the minute they broke up, like the day of, within an hour, there's pictures of Jamie Foxx's hot new model girlfrild.
Of course.
Yes, like, man, he's got right back on that wagon, man. Nobody like
Jamie Foxx.
that fucking Katie Holmes. I'm like, I don't like. Why would he? First of all, why would he have a relationship with Katie Holmes for 6 years, and then the day after go to a hot 22-year-old smoking hot model? Why? That's not even his type, obviously. So why would he be associated with the like he was like he loves Katie Holmes. That's his type of woman. But now he's going to go to like a 22-year-old Brazilian model.
He loves boring, blonde, dumpy, and so then, who, by the way,
it's not
like,
a good beard.
Not to discredit this, I would almost put this in the in like a true crime category. She also was previously married to a guy who almost anyone that has done basic research understands was gay, and then she signed a contract. So it's like, oh, so her type is a gay guy that pays her, and then she moves on to a straight guy? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
No, it makes about as much sense as Jamie Foxx suddenly liking 22-year-old Brazilian models. I mean, if you're going to develop, that's why I hate PR companies. If you're going to develop an actual fake beard story, say that he's dating like Cameron Diaz, I don't know, she's married, but someone like that, like someone who's like a 40-something white, boring white chick, at least would be like, okay, that's his type. Maybe he likes that shit, but like, he's not going from like dowdy, asexual woman to like hot Brazilian sex pot. That's just not happening.
It's very transparent.
I want to ask you, Matt, about the opposite of gay, which is straight. Jared sent us an email about the straight pride. I don't know if you knew there actually was a straight pride parade in Boston, of all places. Where, like, I guess there's no official. It's like the black community. There's no officially gay people in Boston. I don't know how this works exactly, but it's one of the more openly overcompensating male towns in this entire country. Yeah. Boston.
I haven't spent a lot of time there, but
I'd say Boston, Philly, a couple places like where like guys really work hard to show how masculine they are. Like,
I think they're insecure about not having the wherewithal to move to New York.
Yes,
and so they're just like constantly like doing steroids and shit.
I can't imagine being gay in those towns. It seems like a town like Boston would be a horrible town to be a gay dude in, just because there's still people like young Mark Wahlberg who will still come and beat you up just to show off to their friends how ungay they are.
Yeah, I mean, essentially their spokesperson, being Mark Wahlberg of the burger chain, is a known hate crime perpetrator.
I think there's still a lot of that. Yeah, like you said, that sort of like simmering, sort of hate crime-ish white dudes there. But so they had the straight pride parade, and Jared wants to know, which is obviously ridiculous on his face. The straight pride parade was stupid, and we can all admit that they were either assholes.
How many people were involved?
Oh, probably like 100.
I thought you were going to say like 9.
No, well, I think it was hard to tell who'd like join in. I think, guys, anything that happens in Boston, people get drunk and start marching behind them. So it's hard to say exactly how many people were committed, but like I say, 100 in the core crowd. And how many of those people did it as a lark versus how many actually feel like straight people need more representation in the social-political environment? I don't know. I think it was more of a lark, or just, it wasn't even like the angry white dudes who go to like the alt-right rallies. It looked like it was more of a lark.
So it really okay. So
but I mean, I think
it wasn't crazy alt-right.
No. This was like those people would organize a lot.
It was just
better.
guys that thought they were funny.
Yeah, and also just I think there are probably some people who like just got sick of the 19th Pride Parade of the year, Gay Pride Parade of the year, and said like, "Fucking, it wouldn't be funny if we just had a straight Pride Parade."
Yeah, I would have done that.
But people like it was like kind of thing like, yes, I get their point, but also it's like I'd feel so stupid marching with these people that I wouldn't do it, even as a joke.
It would depend.
Just on the face of my face would show up in a picture.
If it was one of your buddies that had a text thread,
yes,
and was like, "Hey man, we're gonna do this," I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll show up and get fucked up."
I'd rather do like
I wouldn't like do it. I wouldn't see it on like a Reddit message board.
No,
and fucking show up and,
with a sign.
What's the costume for the straight? Because
some guy was in a dinosaur costume, which I didn't quite understand.
That doesn't thematically make any sense.
I think it was mostly a joke, but of course there's the police had to come out. There were counter protests with the gay activist groups. But here's what Jared wants to know: isn't it also true underlying this? And I sort of kind of agree with this. It's straight white guys especially are actually being discriminated against, especially he said in coastal cities, in New York, Boston, L.A., San Francisco, whatever. Really, being a straight guy, straight white male especially, is really, you are actually being discriminated against these days. I mean, there is actually active discrimination against you, not just from like the jokes that comedians make and all stuff like that, but in hiring and other things like that. You're actually be treated as a disenfranchised group of people. Like you get no, if nothing else, you get no special treatment, but you may actually be called out for an unspecial treatment.
I think you're right, and it's something I struggle with. Who's the guy that does the rhetorical analysis on Twitter? Scott, the guy that did Dilbert.
Oh yeah, that
Scott,
weird guy. Yeah. He's a weird dude.
He's 100% a shill.
Yes.
I know that for a fact that he's a fucking Trump supporter.
What, the Dilbert guy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
read Dilbert. Like,
I was hold boring.
if you can't trust the Dilbert guy,
Super boring and uninteresting comic book strips in high esteem.
Yes. Family Circus. What's the Family Circus?
That guy sucks. I know I've never read it. Garfield was kind of funny.
It had a funny premise.
Peanuts, I didn't even understand if it was
No.
supposed to be funny.
Well, I think the things that were amusing in the 30s and that never updated by the 80s were no longer funny. They're just like there. It was just sort of there.
Fuck the people in the 30s, dude. Those people.
Well, I mean, when comic strips first came out, people had a much lower threshold for entertainment. So, like, to see a comic and a dog saying a funny thing.
Sub-Zero? Like, what the fuck is Peanuts? It's like a guy like, I need to buy a shirt, and then he's like, cool. Like, I don't understand how.
I don't get it either. But I was just saying, I think when comics first came out, they were really
Elvis
popular.
was around. Fucking Hank Williams.
Well, have you heard
That was
music?
cool.
Have you heard music from like the 1930s?
Yeah, I like it.
Really? It was all pretty boring. It was all vanilla and boring, catchy.
No, there were some
Really?
blues guys. That were
Oh
doing
yeah,
some-
yeah. I'm talking about the popular.
in terms of like mass media,
yeah.
it couldn't have been worse than Peanuts, unless it was just reflecting how awful people felt about themselves.
No, it was just four girls singing a sunshiny song. Was every song?
What was I talking about?
No, Dilbert, the Dilbert guy.
Oh yeah, he's a shill for sure.
Yeah.
But God, I forgot my point.
That's okay. I'm glad. I want to talk about straight white guys being discriminated. Aren't they actually being?
Oh yeah. No, sorry. I know it's true.
Yes.
I know for a fact that I haven't been hired for writing jobs because there's a
For sure.
slightly younger Mexican woman applying for the same job who probably isn't as funny as I am.
No, it's just the way you said Mexican woman makes me sound like she's horrible. I know what you're saying, though.
Well,
There is actually like,
But it doesn't make me go the way of like, oh, well, like deport everyone and like fuck everyone. Like I get it, but it is.
so what's the middle? What's the
frustrating.
middle ground? So what's the middle ground? If you don't want to be like a fucking Proud Boy, but you like also realize that like you're losing, like people like yourself are actually being discriminated against in real things.
Actively discriminated.
Not just like
against. fucking
like Stephen Colbert makes fun of you in whatever, but like the fact
No, like they see your email and they discard it because they know who you are.
or some of them now, some of the job things in LA, people, it says we're really interested in women. It basically says men don't apply.
Yeah. No, I saw a thing that said it was a writing job for a TV show. It said we're seeking a diverse candidate.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, I don't know who's working there already, so
Right.
how would I know what diverse means to you? Obviously, it's a euphemism for we're not hiring any fucking white guys.
Yes, I get it. So what is that? So what is that appropriate middle ground then? If you're not going to be in the streets protesting a straight pride parade or like protesting deport every Mexican, what is like the middle ground to like say this is not actually fair? This is kind of bullshit.
Frustration.
Yeah,
I don't really have an answer for
Yeah.
you. It's not to hate the people that are getting the jobs.
No, I agree with that.
I think it's to try and be reasonable and hope that it kind of turns around, because no one likes a white dude complaining, even if they're correct. But
That's
then
the problem.
you start
Yeah.
complaining, and now
Yeah.
you get lumped into that category of like racist, bitter asshole.
Well, it's also the thing about, so like to say that in this parade today, straight pride parade. So there's a gay pride parade, and they seem to be every week now. I'm not sure how they happen, but like the ones in WeHo clearly the gay people in WeHo are no longer, even that guy, the gay person we talked about a few times ago, he wrote that Atlantic article about how the gay people have won. Take a victory lap. Just stop fucking acting like you're victims all the time. We've actually won. Right. Like 99% of what we asked for, we now have, plus more. Is like, so the gay people are still doing these pride parades, which sort of indicate we are proud of ourselves and we are still we're still underclass citizens, but we're proud of the fact that we're fighting back, or whatever the underlying theme is, right? Why would you be proud of being gay? Like, what is being gay? Why does your sexuality make you proud? And the whole idea was it was to build up self-esteem so we can battle the fact that we're an oppressed minority. But now we're not that way anymore. So I can understand like the anger of people saying like, they still have these gay pride parades where gay people get to pretend that they're huge victims. Yeah. Especially in New York or LA or whatever, where clearly they're not. Although they all have their individual stories of horribleness they've had to go through, whatever. But like, but so I can see why the straight people are like, well, this is bullshit. If everyone's getting special rights but me, then I'm therefore being treated unspecial. I'm being discriminated against. And you see that with the hiring, like we talked about in Hollywood or things like that. So what do those people do? It's like, it's a very difficult situation for straight white guys, because they're targets for derision. They're made fun of in every commercial and every TV show now. And you can never, like you said, you can't
be cast in a TV show as a husband or boyfriend unless you have a serious testosterone deficiency
right.
and man tits and fucking love handles.
And by the way, have to always talk about how great your female and diverse cast is,
like, and how much of a loser you are.
Yes, and how like the women who run the show are smarter than you.
Even though in the premise of the show, it's like you are still paying for the house. Yes. So like I don't understand how the guy is that much of a loser, and like the wife doesn't do anything.
And you can't complain. The guy can't complain about like you have to do the exact opposite. Can't complain about the fact that white guy can't complain about the fact he's being mistreated in Hollywood.
Oh no, because it's like, you're just such a white. Oh, the white guy's complaining now.
Yes.
Like,
yes. So it is a sort of a. I don't think the straight pride parade is the answer, but it is sort of a conundrum of the fact that there is always going to be racism, sexism, discrimination, prejudice, all these stuff, and no matter who it's against, it's always, of course, when it's against an actual minority population who is defenseless, it seems to be worse because they have legitimately no recourse.
I think it's a problem, dude. And the problem for me is I cannot align myself with the people, because if you were to say like, all right, so for example, I was in a relationship with a Mexican woman who complained constantly about her student loans, who only got into USC because she was Mexican and a woman. And but that's okay. Like that's fine. But it should be acknowledged.
Yeah.
That led to a lot of arguments. Drunk people don't like facts said to them.
Yes.
And
well, I like that. They used a historical argument.
Was then hired, and I agree with that too. By the way, I agree with affirmative action to a degree, but the point of affirmative action was not to discriminate against other people.
Well, it was to provide. So it's a fixed. So hiring is a fixed pie. Let's say. So some things are not fixed pie, but let's say hiring is a fixed pie. Let's say a show is going to hire 10 writers. They're not going to hire, it's not an unlimited number. There's some people are going to be left out by course. So if you have 5 slots saved for, say, must be diverse minority writers, that necessarily means that there's less slots for the white guy to take, right? There's just less jobs.
Well, let's say there's 10 jobs. So now 5 of them are women, and 2 of them are Mexican women, black women, and all good, a lot of funny people. Now there's 5 white guy slots. 2 of them, really Jewy guys from Yale.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean.
Well,
that
I would say
as a
2 of them are
affront.
connected guys. I say connected guys, but
2 gay guys,
2 gay guys,
and a black guy.
Yes.
So where do I
don't know.
But I guess I'll just take my papers and leave.
The Irish guy. I only know one. I know a couple Irish guys working in Hollywood. They're all been forced into early retirement because there's no work for them anymore.
Well,
it's
this
tough.
Is getting bleak.
Well, I'm just saying, but that's the face of like. So what's the alternative? Okay, so historically there was all writing teams were all white guys. Look at the 70s shows, 80s shows, all white guys, right? Almost no women. And
the
almost
shows
no
were
minorities.
better then.
Shows are much better then, and not because they were white guys, but because they were all trained veteran writers.
Well, they just drank and smoked and didn't give a shit.
But I mean, they had to be good. They were only hired because they were good writers, and it was brutal. And if your show sucked, you were fired, whatever. So not that 100% of them were great writers, but those were where the great writers tended to go. But now, like you said, now there's a different hiring policy. They're not looking for great writers, looking to fill out a cast. Like you would cast a show, they're casting a writer's room, looking for certain kinds of people. And they that show, the remake of One Day at a Time, they did the Hispanic version. It killed me. The executive producer of the show went on Twitter and actually labeled by sexuality, ethnicity, and gender the percent of the staff of the writing and creative staff of the show. It said we're 58% women, we're 23% gay or lesbian, we're 90% ethnic minority, whatever it was, and like Yahoo and like you. I'm like, well, is that weird that you keep stats like that, and you know stuff like that, and you're hiring like that? Is that weird? Because that didn't happen by accident. It was not like that. It was like you blindly picked the 100 best people and 85% of them turned out to be Puerto Rican. It didn't happen. That didn't happen that way.
And it would reflect on your show too. And that's not to say, like, I don't think it was perfect back then by any means.
No.
Like, of course, there's a lot of Wanda Sykes maybe strikes me as a very funny black lesbian woman.
Yes, love her.
Who checks a lot of boxes.
She's one of my favorite black lesbian comedians.
And of course, she should, deserve a spot. But now, like, I fucking, because I'm writing a pilot, which I'm going to plug probably next time, or finalizing it, whatever. I watched a bunch of pilots in order to sort of figure out how to write a pilot. And I watched Patriot, which is written by a white guy.
Love Patriot.
I think it's the best show I've ever seen.
Love it.
It's really good.
Yeah. Did you watch both seasons, by the way?
Yes.
It's just great.
Steve Conrad. It's amazing.
Yes.
I then watched...
I'm not sure how it got made at all, but that's how good it is.
I think only weirdos probably enjoy it.
Yes.
But I certainly like it a lot. And it's a very smart show.
Yes.
I then watched Breaking Bad.
By the way, the scene where the French guys with the small micro penises are at the stall.
Hilarious.
It's just like
it's deprecating.
It's just so honest. It's so overly honest.
I don't get why. I don't know. I think Amazon's marketing sucks.
They just didn't market at all.
I know women are fascinated with murder.
Mm-hmm.
And if they would have just marketed it like
murder
people
mystery.
Get murdered.
European murder mystery.
Yeah. Or just say kill, murder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd get it. It's a great show.
It's like a Twin Peaksy version of like the CIA.
Breaking Bad, Ozark. I'm saying I watched all the pilots.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know. I know for a fact that Patriot is written by a white guy.
Right.
He's happens to be a white man that writes them himself.
Mm-hmm.
Then, to sort of mix it up, after I was watching all these pilots, I watched Orange is the New Black.
Oh, God.
And it sucked.
Yeah.
It was like really unclever and unfunny. And I
totally
kind of
on the nose. Everything was on the nose.
Got the impression, which I had sort of like heard in the ether of like, well, we hire all fucking lesbian, fucking transgender writers. And I'm like, well, that shows.
Yeah.
Because it sucks. It's not funny.
Here's the thing. I think like if you're making a show for lesbian transgender people, it does make sense to have a lesbian transgender writer room, heavily at least. Not because people that aren't that can't relate to it, but if you're writing that specific content to appeal to that specific of an audience, then it makes sense to have people like, if I'm like reading a surfer magazine, I want to read articles by surfers, right?
I don't know.
I don't want to read an article about, surfing from a person who's never surfed. If it's that specific, if it's like by surfers for surfers.
Well, then why would okay.
So if this is by tranny lesbians for tranny lesbians, there should be tranny lesbians creating the show.
Okay. I guess I'll agree with you, but then why would Netflix be pumping it if it's for 1% of the population?
That was because it's a virtue signal. We can win a lot of awards doing this kind of shit. It's new. They can ping it as fresh, all that kind of stuff. Whereas Patriot is different, and they put no money behind. It was Amazon, put no money behind marketing. Didn't even give a shit about it. Zero, because they can't push a show by a white guy about a troubled white guy, in an all white company. Doing shit with all white people in Europe. It's just like it's one of the whitest shows ever.
It's super white.
The black dude is the funniest guy in the show. I love the HR guy.
Oh yeah. Well, they had to. It is a super white show.
Yes.
But so is Succession. I mean,
yes.
So if like most of TV, if it's successful, is rich people behaving poorly.
Yes.
And you could translate that into any different.
But there should be a diversity of inbound, the diversity of talent. You should create I think you maybe agree with me. We should try to create a diversity of talent versus a diversity of hiring.
We have created an abundance of so-called diversity to the point that there is no diversity.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I walk around town. I don't think every person I meet in line at the fucking Ralph's is a black lesbian. In fact, it's, they're a minority, and it bothers me. But
that's in the
but I'm not
casting.
I can't. NBC has diversity showcases.
Yes.
And
they all have it. The women's like the women. There's like every studio has like 85 women's internship programs, apprenticeship.
And a lot of people I know have benefited from it, and I it's good for them because there are talented people that have been marginalized in the past.
Why are they not? So why is like somebody? I would think like right now, if you were like a black director who was really good, everyone would be looking for you. Like it's not like like, is there like an actual racism against those people working, or is being a young black director now like really hot in Hollywood? Like that's who they're looking. Like that seems like an advantage now.
Huge advantage.
Yeah, versus maybe 30, 40 years ago, whatever it was probably a disadvantage in some ways. But clearly now
it's got to overcorrect itself. So it's like, oh fuck. So I didn't make it as soon as I thought.
Yes.
Well, now I'm fucked.
Yes.
But like I don't want to. The problem is, like, I have no problem stating these opinions because I don't have a problem with it. But the fact is, I'm not a fucking racist weirdo.
It's hard to,
and so then if you were to even like express that by some lazy, intellectually inferior cunts, you would just be put into a group of people who like hate other people.
Yes.
And I really do not.
And that's why even and we're not going to have time to talk about it today, but even like someone like Dave Chappelle, who's weird, but when a minority comes out,
seems to be losing his mind.
Yeah, but when like a successful minority guy, well, even if I can look at all the shit Jay-Z's taking for signing a deal with the NFL, which is the craziest thing in the world.
I never even figured out. I just saw the headlines. I don't even understand what they were talking about.
Kaepernick and Eric Reed and like the people in the NFL are like calling him a sellout. Wait, by the way, this makes no sense whatsoever. They're calling him a sellout for taking a big deal with the NFL because they're still trying to get the NFL to become more,
He's married to a chick that went on a talk show and had a fake baby in her. Have you seen that clip? She had a foam baby.
I know.
Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's been a sellout for a while.
Jay-Z, yes, but Eric Reed's taking a $6 million paycheck for the NFL every year. All Jay-Z's doing is like going to get a $60 million paycheck from the NFL. I don't understand like the real difference is like if you're really against the NFL because they're the plantation owners and they're whatever it is, why are you taking Eric Reed? Why are you taking a paycheck to work for them?
Yeah.
A massive paycheck. And why is Jay-Z not allowed to get in on that money? I don't understand how
Play for like Ice Cube's Big Three or some shit.
And you're not like if you're a rich black businessman, you shouldn't do business with the NFL. But white guy, it's okay. Like we're not going to boycott you.
That kind of thinking is never going to get you up. It's funny that people that have no concept of wealth think that like Jay-Z is super rich.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's doing quite well.
Yes. He's not like NFL owner rich, but he's very successful. By the way, it seems to promote black guys and everything like that. So there's a huge double standard. But like when Chappelle called out like the cancel culture and his thing, like there was an immediate backlash because one thing people hate is when like a black dude or whatever, a minority comes out and notices the shit we're talking about. Like Chappelle will say like the best guy should get the job, right? And they freak the fuck out because when someone like a black guy says that, they can't go after him for being a racist. So they're like kind of like everyone gets really lost and really angry. And then says brings up like I don't know he abused his girlfriend like 18 years ago or some shit like that. It's such a horrific
Chappelle.
No, I'm just saying making that up. Like they can't call him like a white racist, so they have to come up with other thing like some other horrible thing about him that he's a they call him a misogynist, so they call him a misogynist,
right? Or
that he makes jokes about Asian. I think he's married to an Asian woman. That he makes jokes about Asian women a lot, or Muslim women and burqas and stuff. Right. So they have to discount. Everyone has to be discounted. So it is really a tough. I don't want to give credence to the people who are doing the straight pride parade, but there is this sort of like, it sucks when like Kirsten Gillibrand, was she the senator, goes to like a poor white area, working class white area where they've lost all of manufacturing and everybody's out of work and tells them what privilege these white people like have. Like, imagine like somewhere in Alaska where everyone's out of fucking poverty rate is like 70% and then like have this fucking chick come in and tell you like how privileged you are to be white. You'd be like, what? Like
she'd have probably got her ass kicked.
Yeah, it's like what? Like she's like, okay, yeah, you are much less likely to get shot by the cops, I suppose. But like everything else is worse. Like everything else is worse because you can't. Not only are you poor, and disenfranchised, but you can't even apply to like the Warner Brothers internship to get a writing job because you happen to have white skin. So you're really fucked. You're really fucked.
It's fucked. And like I'll be talking to some fucking Trump supporter retard
Yes.
who happens to have a GED, and like he will say something like, Hillary sold all of her uranium to Russia, and I will have to say, actually, what you're saying is factually incorrect. She was on a board of the Energy Department as Secretary of State, which approved the sale of a South African oil company. Or
is that how you speak when you come back with your retorts? Or like,
well, I would have to only try and be
doesn't
diplomatic
matter.
about
Doesn't
it.
matter. What's the point?
And so then you explain, like, okay, you heard this on the news and you're stupid.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, you're an elitist. Like, okay.
But then you get back.
I know that you're not an elitist in that you grew up from fairly humble means. I grew up in Fairbanks, Alaska, a very crime-ridden coal mining fucking town.
Right.
And my dad was a Teamster, which that's not. He wasn't the CEO of fucking Exxon.
Yeah.
How am I elitist because I fucking know more than you?
Yeah. Well, so you should be in the straight pride parade because you need to vent. Like,
Yeah,
where do
maybe
you go?
so.
So between the guys who want to like mass deport everybody, or wear Proud Boys T-shirts, or go to Charlottesville alt-right stuff like that.
I'm not down with that.
No, obviously not. And then the other side, which is just like be the guy who just puts up with the fact that you're now in a world where you are derided because of historical imbalances of the past before you were born. You now are disenfranchised.
I'm not down with that either.
And can't complain and aren't allowed to complain about
I'm
it.
aggressively butting up against it.
Yeah, but it's like what?
But that doesn't mean I'm not going to turn into a fucking racist.
To
now.
me, the thing is always like to say like this is a solution I have, which is just like say like, best person for the job, best person for whatever. But obviously, we need to increase the opportunity. We need to increase the inbound opportunity of everybody. Everyone should have the same opportunity to get great or talented or to get whatever. But then when it comes to like the final decision, and that has to be like colorblind. That has to be blind, right? That has to be like you can't have like say that like white guys should not apply for this job. That's still just a form of discrimination of racism.
And I mean, I'm not saying like. Let me just say this: since when were 20-year-old Mexican chicks into improv?
Right.
I think Bill Murray and Aykroyd and those guys. It was probably in their genes a little bit. They didn't say like, well, here's how I could sort of make some money.
Right.
They started doing it because when
they were like 8 years old.
They were compelled to.
Yes.
It wasn't like, they fucking showed up and were like, okay, so am I in the exec class now or what?
If you wanted to open up like high school classes, improv classes, young people, teens, and made it really reached out to a diverse people, that'd be great. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Find out who really loves it, who's really good at it. But you can't make the final step in the process the step where you try to rectify everything, because then you're just fucking people. That can't be the hiring or the who gets into college thing or whatever it is. The final decision paper can't be the place where you choose to rectify the situation, because then you're just necessarily fucking over people who are complete innocents.
Yeah, you're just overstepping the whole process.
Then you're
just cutting in line.
Then you're just telling the kid from Youngstown who's like dad was kicked out of the shoe company or whatever, hasn't worked in 10 years. That you're privileged and therefore you don't deserve that. You don't deserve the same opportunity.
Which is hilariously ironic because talk about privilege.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of these, I think some of these people who, minorities or even white, the people doing it, I think some of them get it and I think some of them don't.
No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, every time I hear Cory Booker talking about being disadvantaged, I always laugh a little bit, because he's just
Weren't we talking about gay football players
yeah,
earlier?
no, Cory Booker, but like it's right. It's like you can game. I see this guy. I always remember this guy. I want to end on this. There's this guy I remember from high school. Nice guy, nice enough guy, but he had a Hispanic or Spanish surname. He was the whitest skin color wise, the whitest kid, blue eyes and blonde hair I'd ever met in my entire life. He looked like a fucking Icelandic, Viking.
Was he whiter than I am?
He was just white, just plain old white,
Just a white.
Just a white guy. His name was fucking Rick.
Milk
Okay,
toast Casper.
his name was Rick. His name was Rick. And that's how white he was.
That's pretty white.
Yeah, he could have had like a thing on his name. He could have been working like at a garage, like an auto repair place with the name Rick on it. Had a Budweiser in his hand, you know.
I feel like they've only made that industrial repairman shirt. Rick is just what it comes with.
Yes, all right. They're all named Rick. But he had a Hispanic surname. I think he had some, Spanish or maybe Mexican, but he was like the rich white people in Mexico background, like his grandfather or something. So, obviously never the suffering Latin American type of fucking Hispanic surname. And he got into the UC system because of that. He got to qualify as the Central American, whatever.
Hard to get into?
Back then, it certainly was. He got to
You
Berkeley.
mean like Berkeley?
Yeah, he got into Berkeley.
Oh, yeah, Berkeley's pretty exclusive.
Back in the day, they had quotas. They since outlawed that. They had quotas, so Hispanic Americans filed under one. You filed separately as a Hispanic American. He got in. He wasn't a dummy. It wasn't like he had like a C average to got to Berkeley, but he clearly jumped ahead of some other kids who didn't get in.
If you have a C average in high school, you might be a dumbass.
That's what I'm saying. It was like he wasn't even borderline. He was probably under borderline, but like he was a decent enough student. But there are clearly a lot of Asian students, let's say, for instance, who were much stronger that didn't get in.
Probably.
And I just saw recently he actually went on to had a great career. I see his name sometimes in some stuff. He works in California still, and he's become very successful. And I always thought about that was the guy who totally gamed the system. Now, what's he supposed to do? Like say, if you get a Hispanic grandfather, say I'm not Hispanic just because I'm so white and blonde hair and shit like that. I don't know, but that guy clearly gamed this.
Pretty much the premise of Blood In, Blood Out, except that's a prison movie. Well, Gladwell, Malcolm Gladwell had a thing, and I guess I'll butcher it because I'm tired. But he had a thing about how Ivy League schools were hiring black kids out of high school because of a quota.
You mean taking them to college?
Did I say hiring?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Enrolling.
Accepting, yeah. Well, if you think about it, hiring.
Yeah, basically pretty much. If they play football, yep.
No, but like in the law schools.
Yeah.
So like Harvard, Yale. And it turns out even though these kids are pretty smart, they weren't, they were gifted this thing. And so they were behind the curve.
Yes.
Sorry.
Oh, you mean because they weren't qualified to be.
They weren't quite as qualified.
Yeah.
Usually. And so their peers that didn't get these handouts that went to sort of second or third tier law schools ended up being much more successful.
Oh, absolutely.
And Gladwell's a black Canadian Jamaican, whatever the fuck. He's a fucking black guy. So he was making this point against essentially quotas, and it made a lot of sense.
Well, because again, you're taking the final step and saying we're going to rectify the situation in the final step by putting. And I've told you a story before about many friends work as writers in Hollywood, but the writers' room now they have diversity hires, right? And it doesn't mean there aren't talented black or women or other people that are working there because they deserve to, but they also just hire people specifically because they're diversity hires, or they come out of the diversity internships or apprenticeship programs.
Yeah.
And regardless
which
of,
a white guy couldn't get into in the
couldn't
first
get
place,
into,
by the way.
So they're put on these staffs as because they have to be. There has to be a quota of a certain number of diversity people on the staff. They're doing that. And he says they're always underwhelming. They're always feel like they didn't deserve to be there. Even if they're talented, you don't get the most out of their talent because they kind of came in the wrong way, and they understand that.
Imagine to back up your point. If you were a 21-year-old black chick, or a woman of any sort, or guy, and you walked into a room and it was me, you, and let's just say some people we know, fucking, I don't know, 5 pretty funny, somewhat well-read guys. So it's Bill Burr shooting the shit, busting the chops.
Right.
You probably don't actually belong there until you pay your dues.
You don't belong until you pay your dues, and B, you're not. So it's not the kind of thing that's why I said that last step, putting you in the actual job of creating a TV show or creating whatever you're creating, whatever you've gotten into college or work to do. That's the wrong step to be doing that at, because like you said with the Malcolm Gladwell thing, it's not helping the person you think you're helping, and it's hurting everybody else. And there's a resentment factor, and then you lose your self-esteem because you realize that you're not meant to be there. So instead of actually starting when they're 8 years old or 15 years old and finding these programs to help people earn their pay their dues, earn skills, learn stuff, so when they're 25 they're ready to join that world, you're just taking people and automatically putting them into these spots they're not ready for.
Well, Okay,
and it sucks that it is mostly.
But I don't really agree with you in terms of the general job market, because I think that, like, I really do believe in affirmative action, because I know that discrimination is a real thing. However, it's just that these really good jobs, like, no one's complaining about, like, I don't think anyone gives a fuck if you want to work at Jiffy Lube.
No.
And you're a black guy or a Mexican chick.
Yes.
Okay. Can you, you know how a nut works? You screw that off, you drain that oil out. That job sucks. Jobs where you sit around musing about things.
Yes. Love those jobs.
And you get paid $5,000 a week.
Love those jobs.
Those are the jobs.
Yes.
So it's not like,
what you're saying, those are the jobs.
They're being discriminate about the types of jobs that are eligible for this sort of
I see what
reverse
you're saying.
discrimination.
Where they're fighting the battles. Well, there's a way to look at it. Is mostly so like 20 years ago, it was all white dudes in a room at all these TV shows. Just was. So the question is that because there was active discrimination, or because the showrunner was hiring the best people possible, or
it's both,
or because people tend to hire people, especially in comedy or things like that, that are like them because they get along with each other and they kind of like their sense of humor and they think they're talented because they relate to those people.
It's a combination of a lot of things. I mean, if you look at, so let's just say David Letterman, right? Mm-hmm. So the people that wrote for David Letterman were comedians that were doing stand-up comedy and that started doing it and sucked at it for a long time, and because they had nothing else to offer the world, and that they thought this was their only chance of expressing themselves and potentially marrying a chick that wasn't disgusting. And they worked their fucking asses off. And as I could say, I fucking started doing it when I was 18, and I fucking bombed and subjected myself to humiliation and horrible road jobs that didn't pay anything, and it took a long time. And so those are the type of guys that get hired because they are the peers of Letterman who did the same thing.
Sure, and he respected them.
If there was a 19-year-old Filipina woman out doing the same thing, I certainly would hold her in equal esteem.
Yeah.
However,
what if she wasn't?
There
funny?
aren't.
No.
There aren't. And there's plenty of women writers. I mean, Sarah Silverman. She, like, for example,
Tina Fey. Love Tina Fey stuff.
Plenty of them that paid their dues, but
it's a process.
That's not to say like, oh wait, I've seen this on TV, I can do this now.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
No. And by the way, there's not like, it was never like young white guys who were being hired. It was always like guys who've gone through the shit for many years.
Guys that were too ugly to be on camera.
Yeah, but also guys who did shitty jobs for a long period of time. It wasn't like guys who were 22 were being rewarded with like six-figure writing things, because it wasn't like the internet culture. It wasn't like developing an app.
No,
that never happened.
There's
no overnight success. There's no such thing as an overnight success in that business.
Absolutely not. Although now it's quite a bit better. But yeah, they all looked like Steve Bannon, just crusty, eating fucking Panda Express at night, talking about like stupid plots and shit.
Dude, when I first Hollywood meet in LA, I only knew one. They always said find who your family or friends know and stuff like that. Start networking. I didn't know anybody. I had a cousin who knew a guy he went to high school with, who he hooked me up with in LA. Who, after like 2 months, met me at like some fucking Denny's or something. And this guy was like, he was a writer on some sitcom at night. So he was a success story. He was probably 35. He was so fucking pale, coked out of his mind, jittery, chain smoking, looked like he was going to die by 40. I mean, and he was talking about like being up to 2 a.m. every night, started, whatever it was. I think already divorced. And it was just like, I thought like, I'm not doing this. Like, I don't want to be a TV writer, because I thought I was going to meet like a cool dude who was like you said, like just like hanging around Steve Martin or whatever it was, just like making a funny shit. No, it's like, these guys are fucking anxious, drug addicted, caffeine addicted, unhappy, bitter, die young like people who probably half of them are committing suicide now, right? It's a really unhappy business. And I thought, like, I don't want to be this guy. His hands were fucking shaking and stuff. It was like noon at lunch. He looked like he'd been like a goth. It was just like ridiculous. Like, and it was just like, that's the guys. Those are the fat guys or the skinny guys, overly skinny guys, overly caffeinated, very anxious, very unhappy, and miserable fucks, right? That's comedy, right? I mean, that's kind of what it is.
I mean, I guess, yeah, if you have a daily, like a Monday through Thursday.
Yes. Yeah. Those guys, and they worked like fucking 18-hour days.
I feel like if you're on Saturday Night Live, it's like, well, You essentially take a week off every other.
Those
I mean,
guys
I'm
are
sure it's
still-
still very stressful, but
Yeah, it's just I think those people are prone to stress because they're all
I
fucking.
just couldn't imagine like if you were doing, like the Tonight Show.
But if you're doing stand up, you're still doing multiple gigs a week and getting fucking in front of fucking 10 drunk people to start out, and you're fucking still getting shot down and booed at and all that crap. It's still
Dude,
like it's an apprenticeship, right?
I was fucking 18 years old, and I didn't really give a shit. If I
all those guys started like Letterman, Seinfeld. They all started like going to the clubs at 15. They all had the same thing. They all started going to fucking shitty ass bars. Like 15, Chris Rock, like at 14.
Yeah, I think everyone that had the opportunity, but I mean, yeah, like
In the bigger cities. But they were into it like as teenagers, and they were fucking doing it for no money or losing money or paying money to get on stage and be booed and all sorts of. They paid a lot of dues, man.
yeah, I've never seen, and this is an absolute fact. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I've never seen a female comic not get handouts that surpass that.
That's it. Yeah.
That process.
Yeah, and there's obviously fucking
A few. Alicia Wood,
Yeah.
shout out, but it's not common.
No, and you don't have to have a fucking what's his name doing masturbating in front. As a guy, you don't have to have what's his name masturbating in the green room with you. There's some shit that women have to go through, obviously, or the owner filling them up or whatever the fuck's going on. There's some shit they have to go through, and then there is a discrimination against female comics in general in terms of the audience.
Well, yeah, because I think they would say that it is sort of a rapey culture or sort of a bro, like a macho culture, and that's true. But so is football because the guys can hit each other harder. And
I'm only sorry today we didn't get to discuss
if we're talking about like a bar,
Yes.
like you want to waltz into a theater,
Yeah.
Okay, well, who else has that opportunity? We're talking about disgusting
a bar at midnight,
horrible
Yes.
bars with bikers
Off the
in
turnpike.
casinos and fucking. You ever been to Mesquite,
Yeah, right.
Nevada,
Right.
up in the top room there? You're gonna have to be aggressive, and
And it's ugly and drunk, and people are bitter and angry. I get it. I mean, I just think this doesn't seem to be rectified. I'm not joining the straight pride parade. I think it's still fucked up, but I think we're still like don't have. I can see where the anger, not the incel anger, comes from, but I can see where the anger comes from of like
just an acknowledgement.
legitimate. And then there's no way to represent yourself as a white guy who's being disadvantaged. There's no way that any of those people have found out without being fucking lambasted, even by their own demographic
Well, you wouldn't
peers.
know what it's like. Couldn't you say that about anything, by the way?
Yes.
Well, you don't know what it's like to be a black woman.
You're like,
well,
yeah,
that's true. Do you
even-
know what it's like to be a white guy? I don't believe you do.
But even the other white guys in Hollywood then have to mock you as being white privileged guy if you should ever complain about it, because that's their only hope.
those guys already got their jobs.
They got their jobs.
They got grandfathered in.
Or they're scared that that's the only way they can keep their jobs, or the only way they can get their jobs by kissing up and being part of that culture.
Well, like fucking dude, Damon and Affleck. I think their management, whoever their PR people are, saw that Weinstein thing coming
my God, yes.
way back, and they
Yeah.
were like, "Why don't you guys just start talking about liberal stupid shit like constantly, just so like we'll have a buffer
there was
when,
that
when it's really obvious
shitty-
that you were just like friends with the guy."
I got to show you the picture I have, and there's a video clip too I put together. Like Clooney and Damon were out before Weinstein broke. They had this Suburbia movie or whatever it was called, Suburbicon or some shitty movie like 3 years ago
Sounds shitty. Never
that
heard of it.
Clooney made. It was at the Toronto Film Festival, and Damon's in it. And they were like around doing the junkets, and they were like they're buddies, laughing. Clooney, Damon, funny guys, just guys. All the interviews like, oh, it's on set humor, jokes, all this stuff like that. What's it like to make a movie with Clooney? Oh, he's so handsome and whatever. All this just every still photo of them is like them giggling, laughing, having a great rap pack, right? And then after Weinstein breaks in the middle of that junket, and they still have to do the promotional tour for the movie, faces somber, solemn, somber, talking about how women are mistreated in the business.
Gross.
Like no more stories about on-set practical jokes. All about like, how do we get women in the business? All stuff. It is such a kiss-ass business that you have to be on the right side of it. So again, like if you're that guy, if you're the guy who's been fucked out of a job because of your skin color and now it's a different color, or because you're straight, you can't make it, whatever, you have nowhere to complain to, because even your bros have now like cannot commiserate with you. So you end up at a fucking straight pride parade in Boston with the only 50 people in the world who will fucking complain, hear you complain and care about it.
Yeah, Yeah, and now your only recourse, especially in Boston, you're like, well, remember when the Irish were discriminated against like 55 years ago?
It's like, yeah, I don't like this shit. All right, man, that's our show for today. You got something you wish to pimp and promote?
I do not.
You got some of the pilot thing you're teasing. You're teasing it, dude.
No, I'm teasing something pretty good.
You're teasing it like Jamie Foxx does his new girlfriend. His hot new girlfriend.
We might be catered next time.
Oh wow, I like that. What, you don't like my popcorn and fucking? I got the vegan cookies for you.
No, I appreciate it. Are they vegan?
Whole Foods.
I could tell.
I was in a meeting this week, and someone asked, like, what is the epitome? What is the brand to you that's the epitome of women buying for just social purpose, or like for just social peer joining in, part of the gang, upscale, like women in LA? I said Whole Foods. Like the only reason you shop at Whole Foods is because you get the Whole Foods bag, the tote bag, to carry around to show you how it's Whole Foods, to run into other people at Whole Foods.
The chicks at Whole Foods are so hot.
Oh my God, yes. To be a Whole Foods girl, you're actually paying twice as much for like crappy food because it's Whole Foods. That to me is the epitome of like
in the tights,
yes.
like the
I
don't know if you call them yoga pants,
spandex, the workout pants.
Imagine if
athleisure.
Could you imagine wearing those type of pants?
No.
I'm like, dude, I can see all of your anatomy.
Yeah, it's like there's actually like our pic, and there's like the arguments of like, I remember the Kardashians used to have this, were like, because their fucking camel toes were showing, like, and they're like walking out.
Well, to be fair, their pussies are real beat.
But I'm just saying, it actually literally does show basically the outlines of genitals.
Yes.
And it's like, and you're wearing them to the store to go grocery shopping. Like,
as if I don't know what you're doing.
And it's not like you're even in an all-female environment, like at a yoga studio where no one gives a shit that like.
No, there's like several homeless people like feeling grapes in front of them.
Yeah, there's like dads. I mean, it's like it's clearly a co-ed environment and homeless people and shit like that. But I think Whole Foods to me represents like that thing. Whole Foods or buying a Range Rover to me are like the two things that like women in LA do simply for the social value of the shopping experience.
Yeah.
Like, why else would you go to fucking Whole Foods? And like, by the way, Ralph's and all the other stores have all the same organic stuff now. They've all opened massive.
I've never approached any of the women, although they can see that I'm looking at them,
yes.
and they actually welcome it. But I've actually never talked to them. So I now that I think about it, Whole Foods, in LA, is like the straight woman equivalent of a gay bathhouse.
Yeah, pretty much. Should I get kicked out of Whole Foods? I don't know. Oh, you mean that you shouldn't be allowed in there?
No, I'm saying, should I actually, when you make eye contact with a chick who's clearly bored and has no job and is at Whole Foods, do you talk to him?
No, I don't feel like I have anything in common with the people at Whole Foods, and I feel like the women are there to be seen and to be. Generally, there's some moms who shop, but even the moms who shop there with the kids, it's like, why would you? There's a grocery store across the street that carries the exact same product for 40% less, but you will not be caught dead in a Ralph's because there's no social cachet to being in Ralph's. In fact, there's an anti-cachet to being in.
So if they're there, that means that if I'm a single guy, I've lost 5 pounds recently. Now, like, am I supposed to?
I don't think you're supposed to hit them. I don't think so.
Or is it just for their own? This is just their.
It's like Soul
version
Cycle
of like going to dance, and
it's like Soul Cycle. I don't think you can hit on people in Soul Cycle. I think if you are, you're like mocked endlessly. If you're the dude who hits on people like at aerobics class.
I just had a horrible vision of myself like lingering at the salad bar.
If you're I've never been to an aerobics class. I've seen there's always some guys in there, and I assume most of them are gay, but some of them are straight clearly. And I always think like if there's like 40 women, like 5 gay guys and 1 straight guy in the aerobics class, are you allowed to like be the straight guy who hits on the women after the class is over or something like that? You can't really. You're just too.
It's not going to work.
It's just too obvious.
Plus, I heard in yoga, which I don't like doing group activities, but
no.
Apparently when people do yoga, especially in the morning, there's a lot of farting.
Oh yeah. No, I don't like the. There's no reason.
So right there, I'm out.
There's no reason to have that human experience.
Anyway, sorry, MattRalston.net, which.
Are you still ranting on there?
I wrote a funny thing about fantasy football.
Can I see your reverse? Will I shortly see your reverse discrimination? White power.
No,
white power.
I'm trying to think about Bumble. I don't know. I'm busy. I'm moving above and beyond. But there is a funny fantasy football article, which
please check out MattRalston.net. This is Lex. Last Month. Talk to you next week.
Straight white male. I'm so frail. Mama gotta pay my bail. Shotguns and meth are both on sale. I'ma need to treat myself. I only listen to country music. I only marry my second cousins. I only cry when my team is losing. I blame everything on the blacks and the Muslims. Y'all blame me for building the system. Y'all blame me for wages we're paying the women. Y'all blame me for rights that gay people aren't giving. You blame me for talking when I should just listen. You blame me the same me the praise that we winning and hate me for slavery. And lately I'm tripping that daily you shame me for having opinions on race in our country and everything in it. Fine, y'all don't gotta be my friends. Y'all don't gotta like white men. Y'all don't gotta hold my hand. Y'all don't gotta have my back. Y'all don't gotta see my side. Y'all don't gotta be down to ride. Y'all don't gotta do anything but ghost. And I'ma do me even when it's the most. Yeah.